Chapter 831. After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I also said something else. I don't understand what this means. Could it be that I would say something more serious? Yuan Weiqing nodded. That's right, LV Hushan, you said something more serious. LV Hushan was shocked. Yuan Weiqing, what did I say? Yuan Weiqing coughed softly and said slowly. At that time, LV Hushan, you told them that you wanted to be the first guardian of the Tanlei sect in the South County. Naturally, no one believed such words. Therefore, someone refuted it. This person said that LV Hushan, your martial arts are not as good as Yuan Weiqing's. If the Tanlei sect in the South County chooses the first guardian, it should be Yuan Weiqing, not you. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and sneered. LV Hushan, do you know how you answered at that time? Hearing this, LV Hushan's face turned livid. Of course, he knew how he answered, but how could he say such words? Yuan Weiqing, I don't know. I didn't say anything. How would I know? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, according to my friend, after you listened to their words, you immediately had a disdainful expression. Then you said that it wouldn't be long before your martial arts surpass mine. Of course, no one believed what you said, so someone asked you, what method do you have to surpass me in martial arts? Then you sneered and told them that this was a secret. You told them to wait and see. It won't be long before your martial arts surpass mine. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I don't understand. Why are you so confident that you can surpass me in martial arts? Most importantly, you said that you can surpass me in a short period of time. How is this possible? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan hurriedly waved his hand and said with a forced smile, Yuan Weiqing, yes, how is that possible, so don't take it seriously, and I didn't say such a thing. Yuan Weiqing shook his head and said slowly, LV Hushan, although I didn't believe it at the time, there must be an effect for every cause. So I paid attention to it. In the following period of time, I discovered the problem with the wine. At this time, I understood why you were so sure that your martial arts would surpass mine soon. At this point, Yuan Weiqing turned his head and fiercely glared at LV Hushan. LV Hushan, that's because you used the wild bear's feces to lower my martial arts. Naturally, you can beat me in martial arts, right? As soon as Yuan Weiqing's voice fell, LV Hushan hurriedly waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, how is this possible? How can these two things be linked together? Besides, how can I be so stupid as to say those words to them? Isn't that just looking for trouble? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, didn't you just say that when you drink too much, you naturally can't control your words? The most important thing is that these words are what you want to say but don't dare to say. When you drink too much, isn't it normal to say it? LV Hushan, don't deny it anymore. It doesn't make any sense. There are so many people who can testify. Why are you still quibbling? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, my martial arts are not as good as yours, but I can practice martial arts. Why did I use that method? Don't forget, if this matter is known by Hall Master Shui, it won't do me any good. Am I really that stupid? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing immediately nodded and said with a sneer, LV Hushan, through this matter, I can see that you are not smart. If you were smart, how could you do such a thing? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, I have already said that I really didn't do it. What do you want me to say to make you believe me? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and said coldly, unless you can explain these two things to me clearly. Otherwise, even if you don't admit it, you did these two things. Do you understand? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, you want me to explain these two things, but how can I explain this kind of thing? Yuan Weiqing snorted coldly. LV Hushan, as long as you can find a reason for me to say something wrong, I will believe that you didn't do such a thing. LV Hushan waved his hand. But I don't know anything. What do you want me to say? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and frowned. LV Hushan, why are you doing this? Do you think that I will believe you if you say this? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his words. LV Hushan, this is impossible. No matter what you say, I won't believe you. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan spread his hands and said with a wry smile, Yuan Weiqing, since you don't believe anything I say, how do you want me to explain it? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words. Yuan Weiqing, although I can't explain it, I can tell you that this matter has nothing to do with me. I didn't say such a thing. If you still don't believe me, you can ask the person who testified for you to see me. I want to ask him in person why he lied. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, they didn't lie. You are lying. You said those words, but you don't dare to admit it. LV Hushan, you are really too timid. You want to attack me, but you don't dare to attack me openly. You can only attack me secretly. This is really ridiculous. LV Hushan hurriedly shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't worry. Whether it is in the open or in the dark, I won't attack you. Please believe me. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, there are so many people who testified that you said such a thing. Even if you deny it, do you think I will believe you? LV Hushan shook his head. But I didn't do it. Why do you want me to admit it? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan. He sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, let me tell you, these three people are not the only ones who know about this matter. Because, I'm afraid that there are at least dozens of people who have drunk with you. If these dozens of people prove that you said it, then do you admit it? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was stunned. His voice trembled a little. Yuan Weiqing, what did you say? Dozens of people? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, although I didn't ask all of the people who drank with you, after these three friends told me about this matter, I also inquired about it from the side. They all testified that you did say such a thing. LV Hushan, if these dozens of people testify together, will you still deny it? LV Hushan hurriedly waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, how is this possible? Did I tell everyone about this matter? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Yes, you did tell them about this matter. If you don't believe it, you can ask them when you go back. I think you should be clear. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused. Then, he said slowly, LV Hushan, now that things have come to this, you won't deny it anymore, right? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned. He knew that he couldn't deny it, so he gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, yes, I may have said such a thing, but you also know that if people are drunk, it's not surprising to say anything. Don't you think so? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, he continued without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words. Yuan Weiqing, I don't believe that you didn't say something you shouldn't have when you were drunk. Since you said it, you should also understand me, right? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, this is what you think in your heart. That's why you said it when you were drunk. Otherwise, how could you think of this kind of thing? LV Hushan hurriedly waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, why would I think of this kind of thing? I just said it casually. Do you think they will take it seriously? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, yes, they will take it seriously. Because what you said is very true, they have to take it seriously. LV Hushan waved his hand awkwardly. Yuan Weiqing, it's just drunk talk. Why take it seriously? Yuan Weiqing sneered. LV Hushan, if it's just a few drunk words, I won't take it seriously. However, with the addition of your spiked wine, how can I not take it seriously? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, it's possible to say those words when I'm drunk, but I really didn't add spikes to the wine. Yuan Weiqing, you have to believe me. I will never do such a thing. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. No, if you don't let me drink that kind of wine, how can your martial arts be higher than mine? Don't you think so? So I'm sure that there must be something wrong with your wine. LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing. Don't tell me that because your friend said there was something wrong with the wine, you believe him and don't believe me, right? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, my friend told me about the wild bear's feces. He also told me what kind of reaction there would be after eating this kind of thing. As a result, the symptoms he said were exactly the same as mine. Don't tell me it's fake? LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, the symptoms you said, isn't it just feeling a little sleepy after drinking wine? Let me tell you, after drinking wine, I immediately want to sleep. Don't tell me there's something wrong with my wine? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, don't quibble. Usually, after drinking wine, I won't feel sleepy. Every time, my spirit will double. Even if I want to sleep, I can't. But after drinking with you, I felt so tired at once that I could lie down and fall asleep. LV Hushan, don't tell me you think this is normal? Hearing this, LV Hushan sighed and slowly said, Yuan Weiqing, you're old and your physical fitness is not good. After drinking wine, you naturally feel sleepy. You said that you didn't feel sleepy when drinking wine, that's because you're young and your body is good, so you don't feel sleepy. Yuan Weiqing, how can you compare the young and the old, don't you think so? Hearing that LV Hushan still didn't admit it, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, I really didn't expect that now that the evidence is conclusive, you're still talking nonsense. Let me ask you, after drinking wine with you, I immediately feel sleepy. But, why is it okay when drinking wine with others? LV Hushan waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, such a simple question, you have the nerve to ask? Let me tell you, the wine I invited you to drink is all old wine. After drinking it, the after-effects are naturally strong, so the reaction is also big. The wine you drank with others is just some ordinary wine. These wines are not strong, so how can there be any reaction? Yuan Weiqing, this is the difference. I invited you to drink good wine, they just invited you to drink bad wine, so there is no reaction. Hearing LV Hushan's explanation, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment, then he sneered. LV Hushan, don't talk nonsense. What old wine, what long time, it's all a lie. LV Hushan, do you think that I haven't drunk wine and don't know what is good wine and what is bad wine? Let me tell you, when I, Yuan Weiqing, drink wine, you don't even know if you've seen wine or not. You actually dare to talk to me about good wine, it's really ridiculous. LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I invited you to drink wine and you treat me like this? Yuan Weiqing turned his head and stared at LV Hushan. You added wild bear feces to my wine. Do you think I should thank you? LV Hushan clenched his teeth and looked at Yuan Weiqing. Yuan Weiqing, I gave you good wine, so the reaction is naturally big, do you understand? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. I don't understand. I only know that after you invited me to drink wine, the reaction is the same as eating wild bear feces. LV Hushan shook his head. I didn't? Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, things have already come to this point, why are you still unwilling to admit it? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I didn't do it, why should I admit it? Yuan Weiqing suddenly sighed. LV Hushan, I really don't understand. You didn't dare to say it before because your martial arts are not as good as mine. If you say it, you are afraid of causing trouble. But now, my martial arts are not as good as yours. What are you afraid of? Even if I know you did it, with my current martial arts, I am not your opponent. Don't you think so? LV Hushan, I just want to know the truth. I don't want to pursue the consequences. If you did it, quickly admit it, I will not pursue it. What do you think? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan's heart suddenly moved. Only then did he react. Yuan Weiqing was right. He didn't dare to do this kind of thing before because his martial arts were not as good as his. But now, what was there to be afraid of? His martial arts were better than Yuan Weiqing's. Even if he knew, what could he do to him? Chapter 832. LV Hushan understood this and sneered in his heart. He turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and said with a smile, "Yuan Weiqing, let's not talk about the past anymore, okay?" Yuan Weiqing shook his head. "LV Hushan, since we've already talked about it today, just admit it. Anyway, I can't do anything to you, right?" Seeing that Yuan Weiqing wanted to know the answer, LV Hushan nodded and sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, fine. Since you want to know, then I'll tell you. I did indeed do it. The wine I treated you to was laced with wild bear feces." You? Although he had already guessed it, Yuan Weiqing was still shocked when he heard LV Hushan admit it. "LV Hushan, why did you do this? What did I do to you that you want to harm me?" LV Hushan frowned. "Yuan Weiqing, didn't I say it clearly just now? I just want to be the first guardian of the secret Thunder sect in South County. That's why I did this." Yuan Weiqing's eyes suddenly widened as he glared fiercely at LV Hushan. He subconsciously wanted to make a move, but he remembered that his martial arts were not as good as LV Hushan's. Even if he made a move, he would not be able to beat him. He could only snort coldly. "LV Hushan, for such a reason, you fed me the feces of a bear. Are you worthy of me?" LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and frowned. "Yuan Weiqing, you said that I've let you down. Then let me ask you, are you worthy of me?" Yuan Weiqing gritted his teeth. "LV Hushan, I think I've treated you well. How have I let you down?" LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, do you think I don't know? You were the one who did it when I went to the Green Mountain and met the bees. Are you still not going to admit it?" At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. "Yuan Weiqing, I treated you to a drink out of goodwill. I wanted to get closer to you, but what about you? You actually wanted to use the bees to get rid of me. Let me ask you, are you worthy of me doing this?" Yuan Weiqing shook his head at LV Hushan. "LV Hushan, I've already said that I didn't do anything. Why should I admit that I didn't do anything wrong to you?" LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, are you saying that the pill you gave me was an accident?" Yuan Weiqing nodded. "Of course. If it wasn't an accident, how would I know that such precious medicine would attract bees?" LV Hushan waved his hand and said with a sneer, "Yuan Weiqing, I didn't believe that you would know so much before, but after listening to what you said just now, I understand that this matter was definitely done by you." Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was shocked. "LV Hushan, what did I say? Why are you so sure that I did it?" LV Hushan sighed. "Yuan Weiqing, your memory is really bad. Did you forget that you said you have a friend who is very knowledgeable in this field? I believe that these things were told to you by your friend, right?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing's forehead suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He never expected that his secret would be discovered by LV Hushan when he originally wanted his friend to testify for him. "LV Hushan, don't misunderstand. My friend didn't study that area. He only studied the poop of the wild bear. He doesn't know anything else. How would I know?" Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. How could a person who is willing to study the poop of the wild bear let go of the bees? Don't lie to me. I'm sure that it was your friend who told you about the bees, so you thought of using this method to deal with me, right?" Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words and continued. "Yuan Weiqing, I don't understand. I've always wanted to get closer to you through drinking, but you actually want to use the bees to harm me. Yuan Weiqing, what are you thinking?" Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. "LV Hushan, I have already said that I didn't do it. My friend didn't tell me about the bees. Why don't you believe me? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, it's not that I don't believe you, but this is too much of a coincidence. I don't believe that when you went to buy the medicine, that person didn't tell you this secret. If there was a big problem because of that medicine, then the person who had the problem would definitely go to the person who sold the medicine, so I'm sure that the person who sold the medicine must have told you about this matter and told you to be careful of the bees, right? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, you're wrong. I didn't buy this medicine myself. It was brought to me by a friend. After this friend gave me the medicine, he didn't tell me about the bees, so I don't know. Friend. LV Hushan snorted coldly. Yuan Weiqing, who are your friends? Why don't I know them? However, he didn't tell you such an important thing. I don't think this friend is good. Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly nodded. LV Hushan, you're right. He didn't tell me such an important thing. This friend is really not good enough. When I go back, I must ask this friend why he didn't tell me such an important thing. You were almost in danger because of him. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't act. I think anyone would remember such an important thing in their heart. Even if they were afraid that they would forget to tell you, they would write it down on paper, right? So I'm sure that you must know. If it wasn't the person who sold the medicine who told you, then it was your friend who told you. In short, I met the bees on the Green Mountain. It's absolutely not wrong. Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, do you really not believe me? LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, do you think I will believe you? Yuan Weiqing said slowly, LV Hushan, when we first came to the secret thunder sect in the South County, our relationship was so good. But look, what has become of us now? You don't even believe me. Hearing Yuan Weiqing mention the past, LV Hushan couldn't help but frown. He suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, do you think that when we first came to the secret thunder sect in the South County, you were very good to me? Yuan Weiqing immediately widened his eyes when he heard this. LV Hushan, what do you mean by this? Am I not good to you? LV Hushan nodded. Yes, of course you were very good. How could I forget? Hearing LV Hushan's strange tone, Yuan Weiqing couldn't help but frown. LV Hushan, what do you mean? When you first came to the secret thunder sect in the South County, I took care of you. Isn't that enough? Took care of Yojia? LV Hushan nodded. That's right. Yuan Weiqing, you did take care of me. However, don't you know whether you have good intentions or not? Yuan Weiqing gritted his teeth. LV Hushan, you have to speak with your conscience. As long as something is difficult, I won't let you do it. I'm just afraid that something will happen to you. Isn't that enough? LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, that's right. You didn't let me do dangerous things. However, how many dangerous things are there in the secret thunder sect in the South County? Can you tell me? Yuan Weiqing frowned. Although there aren't many dangerous things, I've never asked you to do them, right? LV Hushan sighed and said slowly. Yuan Weiqing, I remember that when you first came, you were still a small team leader of the secret thunder sect in the South County. As for me, I just happened to be assigned to your team. From then on, you began to take care of me. I know this very well in my heart, but I've never said it. Yuan Weiqing could hear the dissatisfaction in LV Hushan's tone and sighed. LV Hushan, your martial arts are not good enough. Other than not letting you do dangerous things, I really can't help you much. However, I've tried my best. How can you blame me? LV Hushan shook his head. I don't blame you. I only blame myself for not being good enough. I was actually assigned to your team. I don't know if it's my luck or my misfortune. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing could not help but ask in a low voice, LV Hushan, what do you mean? I've been very good to you. Why are you still dissatisfied? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, when you were the team leader, you gathered everyone and announced to everyone that my martial arts were too weak, so you hoped that everyone would take care of me. Speaking of this, LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, do you know that after listening to your words, I feel ashamed to face anyone? Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, I'm doing this for your own good. If you don't tell everyone this fact, if they encounter a powerful person or beast and they let you fight, then you will be the one who suffers. Don't tell me that you even blame me for this? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, then let me ask you. In your team, is my martial arts really that weak? Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment and then waved his hand. LV Hushan, let's not talk about that first. In short, your martial arts are not good. I'm telling everyone this for your own good. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't lie. Our team has a total of 8 people. Among the 8 people, besides you, there is only one other person whose martial arts are similar to mine. How can I be the weakest person in the team? Hearing this sentence, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, maybe I was negligent at that time. I thought that your martial arts were the weakest, so I asked everyone to take care of you. You should understand me. I'm doing this out of kindness. LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, if that's really what you mean, I just feel ashamed and will never have any other thoughts. But after you announced that my martial arts were the weakest, then you told everyone not to let me do dangerous things, right? Yuan Weiqing nodded and said with a smile, of course. I told everyone that your martial arts were the weakest because I wanted everyone to take care of you. When you encounter danger, don't let you do it. Is that wrong? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, when you said this, I didn't think much of it. I thought you were a warm-hearted person who was willing to help his friends. But then you said that since I can't complete dangerous tasks, I can only do some dirty and tiring work. If anyone has such work, just look for me. Yuan Weiqing, did you say this? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, I said that because everyone took on dangerous tasks for you, can't you do more to compensate everyone? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, everyone is human. Since they took the risk for you, then you should do more logistics work. Isn't it the same? Isn't this helping each other? When the time comes, no one will complain, right? LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing. He gritted his teeth and said, Yuan Weiqing, you also said that in the future, all the cleaning tasks in the toilet where the team goes will be given to me. Also, I will clean everyone's garbage. In short, what you're saying is that everyone else doesn't have to do anything. Just let me do it, right? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, you misunderstood. I just asked you to do more logistics work. I didn't ask you to do everything. LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, no, that's what you mean. Because after you said those words, the people in the team began to order me around. Everything is done by me alone. I even have to prepare the water for them to wash their feet every night. Yuan Weiqing, is this right? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, are you saying that you actually do these things for them? Looking at Yuan Weiqing's puzzled face, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't pretend. Do you really think that I don't know that this is what you said to them? It's just that although you didn't say these words in front of me, you told them all behind my back. You told them to let me do everything. Even the water for washing their feet has to be brought to them. Yuan Weiqing, do you know that ever since you started taking care of me, I've basically become a servant in our team? Every day I'll clean the latrine for you, bring you water to wash your feet, and clean your rooms. These are all done by me. Once, because I didn't make a quilt for a companion, he was furious at me and said that I was trash. Yuan Weiqing, you can't have forgotten this, right? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, Chapter 833. Yuan Weiqing said, "LV Hushan, you misunderstood." When this team member said these words, he was in a bad mood, so he said some excessive words. However, when he said this, it had nothing to do with anything else. He just felt uncomfortable in his heart. We should all understand this. Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, everyone has times when they are in a bad mood. We can only understand and help each other to make us more united. Don't you think so? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, do you know that what you're saying now is exactly the same as what you said in the past? You haven't changed a single word. I remember very clearly that after this person said that about me, I was very angry. As a result, the two of us fought. But unfortunately, other than you, the only other person in our team who was stronger than me was him. As a result, I was beaten very badly by him that time. Even the corner of my mouth was cracked. Later, you heard the news and rushed over. You said what you said just now and asked us to be united. We can't fight over a small matter. Yuan Weiqing, did you say that? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Of course I said it. It's not a bad thing. I just want our team to be more united and stronger. Is it wrong to say that? LV Hushan shook his head and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't forget that he was the one who started it. He said that I was trash, so I fought with him. Isn't it his fault? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, don't be so calculative. We are all young people. A little anger is nothing. After a few days we will still be good friends. Don't you think so? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, if we fought to a draw, what you said was right. However, I was beaten so badly by him and you didn't even say a word for me. After I came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, I began to clean the latrines and rooms for you. Although I didn't have to do dangerous tasks, I would rather do dangerous tasks every day. Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing nodded and said with a smile, that's right. That's what you said at the time. Then I agreed. I didn't let you do logistics work, but let you do those difficult tasks. Are you still not satisfied? Hearing this, LV Hushan was annoyed, but he didn't dare to shout. He could only lower his voice and say, LV Hushan, that's right. You said that I didn't want to do logistics work, and I could choose to complete those difficult tasks. I told you at that time that I didn't want to work in the logistics department anymore, but you agreed. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing spread his hands and said with a smile, LV Hushan, isn't this very good? Since you don't want to do logistics work and are willing to do dangerous tasks, I have satisfied you. Is there anything wrong with that? LV Hushan sneered when he heard this. Yuan Weiqing, that's right. Since you asked me to do dangerous tasks, the other team members didn't do any task. Almost all the tasks were completed by me alone. Yuan Weiqing, do you think I will be satisfied? Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer him. Yuan Weiqing, do you think that I am stupid and can't see it? So you all have nothing to do and let me complete the tasks alone, right? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's face changed. He waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, you really misunderstood. How could such a thing happen? This is all a coincidence. Didn't you notice that the dangerous tasks were during that time? LV Hushan, since you want to do dangerous tasks, then I will satisfy your conditions. Although you have bad luck and there were dangerous tasks during that time, what can I do? You took the initiative to ask to do dangerous tasks, so I can only agree. Otherwise, what do you think I have against you? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you really know how to talk. You let me do all the tasks, and you all have nothing to do at home. Instead, you say that I have bad luck. Isn't this a bit unfair? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, this is the truth. I didn't do it on purpose. There were many dangerous tasks during that time. What can I do? Dangerous tasks? LV Hushan snorted coldly. Yuan Weiqing, if it is really a dangerous task, I won't say anything. However, you don't care if it is a dangerous task or not. In short, as long as the task is handed down from above, you will not hesitate to let me complete it. Is this where your fairness lies? Hearing this sentence, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, I did it completely according to your wishes. Are you still not satisfied? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, do you think I am a fool? Can't I see what is going on? You are deliberately messing with me, right? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, you are really troublesome. Obviously, you took the initiative to ask for it, but once you are asked to complete these tasks, you are dissatisfied. LV Hushan, if you were me, what would you do? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, in fact, I have very few requirements. As long as it is fair, since you said that you want me to complete dangerous tasks, then let me do the really dangerous things. I have no objections. However, regardless of whether the task is dangerous or not, you let me do it. Isn't that wrong? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I didn't. I have always done what you said. I thought you would be satisfied. Who would have thought that you would be so dissatisfied with me? LV Hushan, I am really in a difficult position. No matter what I do, I am afraid you will not be satisfied. LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, if you let me do the dangerous tasks, I naturally have no dissatisfaction. However, you even let me do such a trivial task as delivering a letter. Do you think that even delivering a letter is dangerous? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's face changed slightly. He then said with a smile, LV Hushan, according to what you said, delivering a letter is not dangerous, right? LV Hushan nodded. Of course. It is just delivering a letter. What danger is there? Even people who don't know martial arts can deliver the letter, right? Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment. However, he did not wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer him and continued. However, you actually let me do such a simple task of delivering a letter. Is this fair? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, don't underestimate the job of delivering a letter. If you are unlucky, you will also encounter danger. Isn't it a dangerous job? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, it seems that you have always treated me as a fool. Let me ask you, is it dangerous to deliver a letter to the people of the secret Thunder sect in the South region? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, do you think this kind of thing is not dangerous? LV Hushan snorted coldly. Yuan Weiqing, I dare to guarantee that even a child can deliver the letter. Do you believe me? Yuan Weiqing shook his head and sighed. LV Hushan, I really didn't expect that as the protector of the secret Thunder sect in the South region, you would think of things so simply. LV Hushan, have you ever thought about why you have to deliver a letter? LV Hushan frowned. How would I know? I didn't read the contents of the letter. Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, let's not talk about the contents of the letter first. Let's talk about this matter first. Let's say that you are doing a very dangerous thing outside. We have something to ask you and then send you a letter. If this letter falls into someone else's hands halfway and the bad guys know our address, then if they have bad intentions, won't our people immediately fall into danger? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment and then waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. How could our secret Thunder sect in the South region send such an important letter? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, don't you understand? Sometimes, even a letter is very important because this letter wants to express a lot of things. If someone knows about it, there will definitely be danger. Don't you believe me? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, what you said just now is basically impossible. What the secret Thunder sect in the South region does is not very secretive. Even if someone knows your address, so what? Will someone find trouble with you? I'm afraid that's impossible, right? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, do you still remember the bandit leader, Boss Lu? If you are outside and we send you a letter, then this letter falls into the hands of the bandit leader, Boss Lu. If he knows that you are outside alone, then think about it. With the hatred between the two of you, will he take the opportunity to take revenge on you? At this point, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. Most importantly, LV Hushan, you still don't know about this matter. You still think that no one will find you. You will only react when the bandit leader finds you. LV Hushan, think about it. How dangerous is this? If it's really like what you said, and we send a child to send you a letter, then do you think this letter might fall into the hands of the bandit leader, Boss Lu? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan's expression changed and he frowned. No matter how he thought about it, he had to admit that Yuan Weiqing's words were right. If he really went somewhere alone to do something, and the bandit leader, Boss Lu, found out, he might really take revenge on him. It was not a possibility, but a certainty. The bandit leader, Boss Lu, had strong martial arts. Although he could not defeat Yuan Weiqing, the two of them should be on par with each other. If the bandit leader, Boss Lu, used some strategy and had a few more helpers, he would definitely not be his opponent. At that time, he was afraid that he would really be in danger. Yuan Weiqing saw LV Hushan lowering his head and not saying anything, so he sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, this is not a small matter. If we don't treat it seriously and the bandit leader, Boss Lu, finds out about it with your martial arts, you will definitely not be his opponent. At that time, our Nanjun secret Thunder sect will lose a protector. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, although this kind of thing is possible, the probability is too small. It's basically impossible. The letter I'm talking about is not this, but something else. Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and asked with a smile, LV Hushan, is there anything else? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. I remember that once our people went to deliver the Thunderbolt pills. In the end, the customer's address changed. After our people set off, we knew that the customer was no longer at the original address, so we immediately sent a letter to tell him the customer's new address and let him deliver the Thunderbolt pills to the new address. Yuan Weiqing, is there any danger in this kind of thing? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, don't you think this matter is dangerous? LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, our people left not long ago. As long as we find someone to catch up with them and give them the new address, won't this matter be over? Yuan Weiqing, no matter how I think about it, I can't think of any danger in this matter. Yuan Weiqing shook his head and said with a sigh, LV Hushan, why don't you understand? This matter is very dangerous. As long as there is a slight mistake, I'm afraid our people won't be able to come back. Do you understand? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. Do you really think I will believe you? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and said slowly, LV Hushan, since you don't believe me, then I will tell you. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer him. LV Hushan, think about it. The Thunderbolt pills are very powerful. In the underworld, it is definitely a rare thing. If someone has gold coins, of course, he can buy it with gold coins. But for those who don't have gold coins, don't they want these Thunderbolt pills to protect themselves? LV Hushan, no, they even want the Thunderbolt pills produced by our South County's Tanlei sect more than those who have gold coins. Because those who have gold coins can use gold coins to buy other things to protect themselves, but they can't. Without gold coins, they can't buy anything. Although they can't buy it, they want it. In the end, they accidentally got the letter we sent. What do you think will happen? Chapter 834. Yuan Weiqing continued, LV Hushan, I'm sure that when they know that someone of us is outside with the thunderbolt pills, they will definitely think of a way to snatch them. Don't you think so? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, you're right. They might indeed try to snatch those thunderbolt pills. LV Hushan did not want to admit this fact, but he had to admit it. The thunderbolt pills produced by the secret Thunder sect in the South County were quite precious. LV Hushan could guarantee that many people in the underworld wanted to get them. If they had a few thunderbolt pills on them, once they encountered danger, they would be life-saving items. Therefore, LV Hushan could not refute Yuan Weiqing's words. After Yuan Weiqing heard LV Hushan's words, he nodded. LV Hushan, if they just want to snatch the thunderbolt pills, then it's still a small matter. Most importantly, have you thought about what they will think when they snatch the thunderbolt pills? The secret Thunder sect in the South County is very powerful. If they know who snatched the thunderbolt pills, they will definitely take revenge. At that time, they will definitely not be able to stop the pursuit of the secret Thunder sect in the South County. Therefore, I'm sure that for their own safety, not only will they snatch the thunderbolt pills, but they will also kill all the people of the secret Thunder sect in the South County. They will not leave a single one alive to prevent others from discovering that they did it. LV Hushan, this is the most terrifying part. If we lose the pills and the people, even if we want to find clues, we won't be able to investigate. How can we take revenge? LV Hushan, don't you think so? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan nodded silently but did not answer because he had nothing to say. If he was the one who snatched the thunderbolt pills, he would definitely do as Yuan Weiqing said. He would snatch the pills and then kill everyone who knew about it. No one would know that he did it, because this was the safest way to do it. As long as one was not stupid, they would do it. This meant that the people who had these thunderbolt pills would definitely be in danger. Seeing LV Hushan lowering his head in silence, Yuan Weiqing let out a sigh as he slowly said, LV Hushan, you said that delivering letters is not a dangerous job. After hearing my words, do you still think that the job of delivering letters is easy and free of danger? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, this is different. The letter you asked me to deliver is not of this type. Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, what do you want me to say? The job of delivering letters is very dangerous. Perhaps it's not the person who delivers the letters that is in danger, but the person who receives the letters. Don't you know that? When we deliver the letter, if we want to protect our hearts, not only must we have superb martial arts, we must also have a strong heart. Sometimes, the enemy knows that we are going to deliver a letter. They want to know the contents of the letter, so they will set up all kinds of schemes to trick us. The reason why I didn't let you do these dangerous things was because you were too rash. I was afraid that you would lose, so I let you do some logistics work. Don't you understand? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I understand what you're saying. If you send a letter to those colleagues who are delivering thunderbolt pills, the matter will naturally be very serious. However, delivering letters to these colleagues' families, is this also important? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words, he continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, I remember very clearly that many of the letters you asked me to deliver were written by colleagues to their families. They were just to tell them that they were safe. Is that also important? Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. You are obviously messing with me. Do you think I can't see it? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. He turned to look at LV Hushan and asked slowly, LV Hushan, do you think that delivering letters to your family is a very easy thing? LV Hushan turned to stare at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, "Isn't it?" Yuan Weiqing shook his head. "LV Hushan, you are wrong. Delivering letters to your colleagues' families is also very serious. Why don't you understand?" LV Hushan smiled coldly. "Yuan Weiqing, I don't understand. I want to hear what other excuses you have." Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. "LV Hushan, I'm not quibbling. It's the truth. Just like what I said just now, you think that delivering a letter is a simple matter. But if you think about it carefully, this letter often has a great significance. Delivering letters to those colleagues who are delivering goods, this letter is related to their safety. This is very important. Delivering letters to your colleagues' families is also related to many serious matters, so I am afraid that it is even more important. Don't you understand?" LV Hushan shook his head. "Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. Do you think that I will believe your words?" Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, "LV Hushan, since you don't believe me, then I will tell you why this letter is so important." Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his words. "LV Hushan, if I let another colleague deliver a letter to your family, and send a person who is very weak and inexperienced to deliver the letter, what do you think will happen?" LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, "Yuan Weiqing, continue. I want to see what other lies you can say." Yuan Weiqing shook his head. "LV Hushan, I am not lying to you. This is the truth. There is no lie." Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused, and then he said slowly, "LV Hushan, since you don't want to say it, then I will say it for you. What if I send a letter to your family saying that you are safe, but I don't pay attention to this matter, and send an irresponsible person to deliver the letter? As a result, this person is killed halfway, and the letter naturally can't be delivered. LV Hushan, you may think that this is just a letter to say that you are safe. It is no big deal. Even if it can't be delivered, it won't affect anything. But have you ever thought that this letter has a detailed address and some content that only your family knows? If these contents are known by some people, what if these people do something bad? The consequences will be very serious." Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered, "Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. What's so serious about this? It's nothing more than a letter. The content of the letter is only to report that I'm safe. Even if they know the content of the online message, do you think they can report it for me?" Hearing LV Hushan's cold snort, Yuan Weiqing smiled bitterly and shook his head. "LV Hushan, why don't you understand? I am worried that they will deliver the message for you." Hearing Yuan Weiqing emphasize this sentence again, LV Hushan frowned. "Yuan Weiqing, what are you worried about?" Yuan Weiqing sighed. "LV Hushan, think about it. They know your home address and the content online. Of course, they know that you are from the Tanlei sect in the South County. We have already said that the Thunderbolt pills produced by the Tanlei sect in the South County are very powerful. Many people want to get them, but they don't have that many gold coins, so naturally they can't get them. However, this letter gave them a chance. They followed the address on this letter and found your home. Then, as for how they treat your family, let's not talk about it for now. I will only say that if they ask your family to write to you and ask you to bring back 100 Thunderbolt pills, will you agree?" "What?" Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was shocked. "Yuan Weiqing, what did you say? They want me to bring back 100 Thunderbolt pills?" LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer him. He sneered and continued to speak without caring for Yuan Weiqing. "Yuan Weiqing, are they dreaming? They want 100 Thunderbolt pills? Let me tell you, not a single one." Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, "LV Hushan, if you don't have a single Thunderbolt pill, then I will also tell you that your family will be wiped out." "What?" LV Hushan was shocked again. Yuan Weiqing, do you mean that if I don't bring back 100 thunderbolt pills for them, they will attack my family? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, of course. How can they let go of such a good opportunity? I can assure you that if you don't listen to them, the consequences will be very serious. Do you believe me? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, I don't believe it. If they dare to do this, once I catch them, I will definitely make them regret it. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, you can talk about those words later. I just want to ask you, if you receive this letter, what will you choose? Will you bring back 100 thunderbolt pills in exchange for the safety of your family, or will you use force to deal with them? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment, then he sneered and asked, Yuan Weiqing, what do you think I will do? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. I don't know. Even if I encounter such a thing, I don't know. Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered and waved his fist. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you, if they dare to threaten me, I will never let them go. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, do you mean that you will never compromise and will fight with them to the end? LV Hushan sneered and nodded. Of course. How can I bow to them? I will never do that. Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I heard that your child is still young and very cute. I heard that you like him very much. Is that true? Hearing this, LV Hushan's face suddenly changed. Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I don't mean anything. I just want to tell you that your family is not only you, but also your family and your child. Do you understand? LV Hushan, when you make a choice, I hope you can think about what is the right thing to do. LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, do you mean that I should compromise with them and give them 100 thunderbolt pills? Yuan Weiqing smiled bitterly and shook his head. LV Hushan, I don't know. I have already said that it is not just you. Everyone will find it difficult to make a choice when they encounter such a thing. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued to speak. However, if you think about it carefully, in fact, most people will choose to take 100 thunderbolt pills back. After all, thunderbolt pills are just worldly possessions. Even if they are gone, we can make them again. However, if your family is gone, then it is really gone. You will never have the chance to have it again. Do you understand? Hearing this, LV Hushan secretly sighed in his heart. How could he not understand? Yuan Weiqing, you want to tell me that I should use 100 thunderbolt pills in exchange for the safety of my family, right? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, I don't want to tell you anything. I just want to say that this choice is also a helpless move. However, if you think that using 100 thunderbolt pills can really exchange for the safety of your family, then you are wrong. Hearing this, LV Hushan couldn't help but frown. Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean by this? I have already brought back 100 thunderbolt pills. Are they still not satisfied? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Of course they are not satisfied. LV Hushan, this is a great opportunity. As long as you bring back 100 thunderbolt pills, it means that you are a money tree. Although you can't drop gold coins, you can drop thunderbolt pills. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, I am sure that when you bring back 100 thunderbolt pills, the game has just begun. Do you believe it? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan gritted his teeth and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I don't believe it. If they dare to do this to me, do you believe that I will kill them on the spot? Yuan Weiqing shook his head and sneered. LV Hushan, I don't believe what you said. LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, since they don't dare to deal with me directly, it means that their martial arts are definitely not as good as mine. So if they dare to go back on their words, I will kill them all on the spot. Is there anything to doubt about this? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, do you treat them as fools? Let me tell you, even if you bring back 100 thunderclap pills, not all of their people will come to see you. They will only send one person to receive the 100 thunderclap pills you bring back. As for the rest of the people, including your family, they will probably lock them up in other places. LV Hushan, I don't believe that you dare to do anything to your family when you can't see them. Chapter 835. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was stunned and then sneered. Yuan Weiqing, even if they did this, aren't they afraid that I'll find them? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, if they were afraid, they wouldn't do this. Let me tell you, this time, if you take out 100 thunderbolt pills, they might let one of your family members go. Then, they will ask for 200 thunderbolt pills in exchange for more family members. I believe that they won't let you go until they squeeze you dry. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, although LV Hushan's face was calm, he was extremely shocked. If such a thing really happened, there was really no way to solve it. If he used force to save his family members, he wouldn't be able to find the location where they locked them up, so he could only compromise and agree to their various requests. But just as Yuan Weiqing said, as long as he agreed to them once, there would be a second time, or even countless times. They would keep asking for various items. The most important thing was that he couldn't do anything to them. This was the worst thing. For the safety of his family, he could only endure. However, was it useful even if he endured? Yuan Weiqing saw LV Hushan lowering his head and not saying anything. He suddenly sneered. LV Hushan, let me tell you, if such a thing really happens, your life will be ruined. Think about it, if you happily take out 100 thunderbolt pills the first time, they will happily ask for 200 more thunderbolt pills. There will be a third time until you have nothing left. There is another important problem. You may have never thought about it, but they want so many thunderbolt pills. With your financial ability, you definitely can't afford it, so you can only use various methods to get these thunderbolt pills. In the end, because of these thunderbolt pills, the South County's secret Thunder sect will expel you from the sect, and you will be alone. At that time, even if you want to take revenge on them, think about it. They have so many thunderbolt pills in their hands. Even if their martial arts are not as good as yours, with these thunderbolt pills, will it be so easy for you to deal with them? So, I'm sure that as long as this happens, your life will basically be over. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and sneered. LV Hushan, since you understand, then let me ask you, is this letter important? LV Hushan, who was deep in thought, was suddenly awakened by Yuan Weiqing's words and nodded subconsciously. Important, of course it's important. Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, since you know the importance of this letter, do you still think that what I asked you to do is not the most dangerous thing? Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but immediately, he didn't wait for LV Hushan's reply. He continued. LV Hushan, although this matter doesn't seem to be very dangerous on the surface, if you think about it carefully, this matter is more dangerous than anything else. If I don't send a trustworthy person to do it, do you think I can face the person who delivered the letter? If things really develop as I said, what do you think we should do then? The person who is in trouble will hate me, and he will hate you. Maybe when something really happens, he will not seek revenge on those people, but you and me. Because I didn't pay enough attention to this matter, I didn't send a capable person to deliver the letter, and this tragedy happened. And you, because you didn't pay attention to this matter, you are hated by this person. Maybe the first person he will seek revenge on is you, because you are the worst person in his mind. If you didn't lose the letter, his family would be fine. In the end, it's all your fault, LV Hushan. Do you understand? LV Hushan, it is because of these reasons that I will treat this kind of thing as the most important thing to do, so as to avoid the situation we just talked about and prevent the tragedy from happening. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, tell me honestly, am I wrong to send you to do this? Hearing this sentence, LV Hushan opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything to defend himself. He had always believed that Yuan Weiqing was tricking him and making him do some boring task. But now it seemed that it was not the case at all. Just like the job of delivering letters, it sounded really important, even more important than many dangerous tasks. Could it be that I wronged Yuan Weiqing? No, LV Hushan suddenly remembered another thing and sneered in his heart. Yuan Weiqing, you dare to lie to me. LV Hushan raised his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, even if you are right about what happened just now, I don't want to argue with you. Then let me ask you, we are just delivering a letter to the buyer. Is this important? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, every time I deliver a letter to the buyer, you set the shortest time for me, almost leaving me no time to rest. Tell me, why is this? Could it be that these letters are also very important? Hearing LV Hushan's question, Yuan Weiqing couldn't help but frown. It was not easy to fool around with two questions. He didn't expect LV Hushan to ask a new question. He is really a difficult guy. Yuan Weiqing smiled and nodded. LV Hushan, of course, these letters are of course important. Otherwise, why would I set the shortest time for you to deliver the letters? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you dare to lie to me. You are right about what happened just now, but I don't believe that delivering letters to these buyers is so important. Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, do you think that I don't know the contents of these letters? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was taken aback. LV Hushan, what do you mean by this? Do you think I am tricking you? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, isn't it so? If you didn't trick me, why would you let me do this kind of insignificant thing? Having said this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, you let me do these boring things and then you all drink and chat at home. Let me ask you, if this is not tricking me, then what is it? Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, how can you blame me for this? You asked to do the dangerous mission yourself. I didn't ask you to do it. How can you blame me? LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, if it is a dangerous mission, I naturally have nothing to say, but is this also a dangerous mission? Having said this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, you don't have to quibble. Let me tell you, I know the content of those online. Those people wanted to buy Thunderbolt pills, but there was no stock at that time, so they asked me to send a letter to tell them that there was stock and they could come and buy it. Such a simple thing, can it be considered a dangerous mission? Yuan Weiqing, I can tell you that such a simple mission can even be done by the elderly and children. Why must I do it? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's face changed slightly, then he waved his hand and said with a smile. LV Hushan, do you think that the letters you sent are really simple? LV Hushan sneered. Isn't it? I just want to know why it can become a dangerous mission. Yuan Weiqing, if you can't say it, then quickly admit that you are tricking me. After hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, you have really misunderstood me. These missions seem simple, but if you really do it, it will definitely not be simple. Do you believe me? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. It's such a simple thing. It's just sending a letter. Can't others do it? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, since you don't understand the reason, then I will explain it to you. I will let you understand why I asked you to send the letter. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, the thunderbolt pills produced by the secret thunder sect in the south region are very powerful, but the price is also very expensive, so not many people can afford it. For example, those big sects buy these to prevent anything from happening, and some people buy these things for self-defense. For example, maybe an enemy comes to them, so they buy some thunderbolt pills to deal with the enemy. Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, take you as an example. You have an enemy who will come to your door in 5 days. Therefore, you want to buy some thunderbolt pills to deal with your enemy. We also know this situation, so after we have the goods, we immediately sent someone to send a letter to tell him to quickly buy the thunderbolt pills so that he can deal with his enemy. However, if we send an ordinary person, what if something happens to him on the way? For example, he is very unlucky and meets a bad guy who is strong in martial arts and kills him. Then, the letter will naturally not be delivered. And our buyer did not receive the letter at the agreed time, so he thought that there was no goods. In desperation, he could only make some other preparations. However, the enemy's martial arts were higher than his, so no matter what he did, it was useless. So, in the end, he was killed by the enemy. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused and sighed. Then, he slowly said, LV Hushan, think about it. Every time I ask you to deliver such a letter, I ask you to deliver the letter in the shortest time possible because I know that they are waiting for the thunderbolt pills at home. It can be said that they have placed all their hopes on the thunderbolt pills. If we don't deliver it quickly and something happens, then our conscience will be blamed. LV Hushan, do you think I'm right? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned. He never thought that there were so many reasons behind this. Yes, Yuan Weiqing was right. If it was really that kind of situation, when this person decided to buy the thunderbolt pills, he really had to use the fastest speed to inform them. Moreover, if the other party couldn't buy the thunderbolt pills, the consequences were very serious. Maybe it was really like what Yuan Weiqing said. He would be killed by the enemy because he didn't have the thunderbolt pills. Yuan Weiqing saw that LV Hushan lowered his head and didn't speak. He sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, some things are not as simple as you think. Just like what we just said, if the person who delivers the letter is killed on the way, the person who wants to buy the thunderbolt pills naturally can't receive the message, so he will definitely be killed by the enemy. However, if we send a person with low martial arts and no sense of responsibility to deliver the letter, he will not be killed by the enemy, but it will delay a lot of time. LV Hushan, have you ever thought that in the time he delayed, the person who bought the thunderbolt pills might have been killed? So, whether it is late or never, it is unfair to the person who bought the thunderbolt pills. LV Hushan, it is because of this reason that every time you send such a letter, I will ask you to use the fastest speed. We must not affect the other party because of your delay. Do you understand? Hearing these words, LV Hushan frowned. Although he felt that something was wrong, he couldn't say it for a while. He could only nod helplessly. Yuan Weiqing, you are right. Yuan Weiqing waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, it's not that I'm right, but it's the truth. We have to do our best in everything. Otherwise, if we cause losses to the other side because of our mistakes, we can compensate them if it's in terms of money. But if they are killed by the enemy, how can we compensate them? LV Hushan, we must not live in condemnation for the rest of our lives because of our carelessness and dereliction of duty. Don't you understand this principle? Or should we be like you and not take this matter seriously at all? We always think that it is a small matter, and even send the old people and children to deliver the letter. Do you think this is safe? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan let out a sigh. Yuan Weiqing, you're right. We really can't delay the delivery of such a letter. Because during the delay, something big might really happen. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing was overjoyed. He knew that this problem was solved. LV Hushan frowned even more. He always felt that something was wrong, but what was wrong? Delivering the letter to those buyers really couldn't be delayed because, as Yuan Weiqing said, the price of the Thunderbolt pills was very expensive. Ordinary people really wouldn't buy it. Many people bought the Thunderbolt pills. They were really dealing with a powerful enemy, so they would spend a lot of money to buy the Thunderbolt pills. Chapter 836. Seeing that LV Hushan did not answer him, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, I hope you won't misunderstand me in the future. I'm doing this for the Tanlei sect in the South County. Remember, as long as I think it's a serious matter, it must be serious. It's definitely not as simple as it looks on the surface. Just like what you said about sending letters, think about it carefully. This is probably a very serious matter. If there's a slight mistake, the loss will be very great, so we must treat it seriously. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and asked with a smile, LV Hushan, now you understand my painstaking efforts, right? You shouldn't have any complaints, right? Hearing this, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I can't win against you in terms of sending letters. Even if you're right, how are you going to explain other things? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, do you still have something to be dissatisfied with? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, that's for sure. Didn't I just say that since I agreed to do dangerous things, I've basically done all the work in our team? However, you've been drinking tea, chatting and watching me do things every day. If you were me, wouldn't you have any complaints? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, you can't blame me because you applied for it yourself. I didn't force you to do it, right? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, actually, since you came to the Tanlei sect in the South County, I found that you have a problem. I don't know if you've noticed it? Problem? LV Hushan snorted coldly. Yuan Weiqing, then I want to hear what's wrong with me. Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, have you noticed that you have a lot of complaints? Hearing this, LV Hushan's face suddenly changed. He turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked angrily, Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean? Even if you set me up, I can't say anything against it? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, that's just one thing. Think about it carefully, you have opinions about almost everything. In the beginning, I was afraid that you would complain, so I didn't dare to let you do dangerous things. That's why I let you do the logistics work. However, even though it's such an easy job without any danger, you still have complaints. You think I'm being unfair to you, and that I'm ganging up with everyone to bully you. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing smiled bitterly and continued, LV Hushan, in order not to let you say that I bullied you, I can only agree to your request and let you do dangerous work. However, when I asked you to do something, you still had complaints and thought that I was cheating you. LV Hushan, tell me the truth today. What should I do so that I won't cheat you? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, your request can't be for you to do nothing and drink and chat at home every day, right? If so, then I'm sorry, I can't meet your requirement. Everyone is out to do things. How can we stay at home? Don't you think so? Although the logistics work is a bit tedious, it's safe. This is actually very suitable for you. Your martial arts are not high, and there's no danger in the logistics work. This is a good job, but you're still not satisfied. Since you're not satisfied, then do the dangerous task. But you think there's too much work, so you're still not satisfied. LV Hushan, you really make me don't know what to do. After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't make it sound so nice. If you're really doing it for my good, why do you stay at home every day and only let me do the work alone? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, let me ask you. Why do you say that you are the only one who can do the work? Do you really think that the other colleagues will do nothing at home and let you do all the work? LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, you're right. You're like this. You let me do everything alone and you all enjoy life at home. Yuan Weiqing, do you really think that I don't know? I just don't want to say it, but I know all this. Even if you want to lie to me, you can't. Hearing LV Hushan's complaining words, Yuan Weiqing smiled helplessly. LV Hushan, I don't understand what evidence you have to prove that you're the one who did all of our things. LV Hushan, do you think that the tasks assigned to our team can be completed by you alone? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, in fact, I'm not a picky person. Even if I have to do a little more every day, I have nothing to say. But the problem is that you let me do everything. If it were you, would you be willing to do it? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, this is just your imagination. You just need to think about it carefully. So many tasks can't be completed by you alone. It can only be completed by everyone working together. Do you understand? So quickly forget about this idea. It's not true. Don't misunderstand me again. Misunderstand? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I won't misunderstand you, because this is the truth. You think I don't know, but I've seen it all. You're all idle. Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, do you have evidence? If you don't talk nonsense. It's not good for all of us. LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, I didn't know before. In the beginning, there were a lot of tasks assigned to me. I was so busy every day, but I didn't complain at all. As you said, everyone is here to do things. Why should I be calculative? So I have been working diligently, and I will never have any complaints. Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words, he sneered and continued. But one day, I found a secret. Only then did I know that all of you were idle at home, and I was the only one working hard. LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and sighed. Yuan Weiqing, if you were me, what would you do if you knew this kind of thing? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, what is this? How did you find out? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, there is a task list in our team. Every time there is a new task, it will be recorded on the task list, and then people will be assigned to do it. I didn't notice it in the past. It wasn't until one time when I saw the mission F that I was doing that I realized that I was the only one doing the work. Everyone else was idle. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, how is this possible? You just look at the name of a task. What can you tell? I think it's all just your imagination. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his words, he continued. LV Hushan, don't think too much. This is not good for you. You already have a lot of complaints. If you continue to think too much, I'm afraid this problem will become more serious. At that time, it won't be good. Do you understand? LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, it's useless to lie to me. I really want to know why I'm always doing the tasks below the task I'm doing. Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, for example, my task is to deliver a letter to someone else, and the next task is to receive a piece of ore. Yuan Weiqing, if everyone else is doing something, after I accept this letter delivery task, I will definitely not do the next task. Because this task must be done by someone else. But every time, I realized that after I finished the mission of delivering the letter, I still had to complete the mission of receiving the ores when I came back. This is enough to show that the mission on this piece of paper was actually done by me. All of you were just idle, right? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's face suddenly changed, but he quickly reacted and said with a smile, LV Hushan, what's so strange about this? You asked for this task yourself, and I didn't force you to do it. Can you blame me? Hearing this sentence, LV Hushan sneered, Yuan Weiqing, I just asked to do dangerous tasks. I didn't say that all the tasks are done by me alone. How do you explain this? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand, LV Hushan, the tasks I asked you to do are very dangerous tasks. Those easier tasks naturally won't be done by you. LV Hushan let out a sigh. Yuan Weiqing, since you said so, then let me ask you. Just like I said, the first task is to deliver a letter. I have nothing to say about it, and I can't beat you in an argument. However, the second task is to receive ores. Is this also dangerous? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan, frowned and asked, LV Hushan, do you think that the ores receiving task is not dangerous? LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. It's just receiving ores. It can't be more simple. To put it bluntly, even the elderly and children can do it. Why is it a dangerous task? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he sneered and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, you can't tell me that even the ores receiving task is as dangerous as delivering a letter, right? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I also found that you have a problem. That is, you don't think carefully when doing things. You think that everything is simple, but have you ever thought that the tasks I asked you to do are actually not simple tasks? As for what you said about me cheating you, that is nonsense. It's just your own imagination. You're talking nonsense? LV Hushan was a little annoyed. Yuan Weiqing, you said that I'm imagining things. I want to ask you. The ores receiving task is just to bring back the ores that have already been bought, and those ores aren't very valuable. Naturally, no one will snatch them. Is there anything simpler than this? Hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing frowned and thought for a moment before slowly saying, That's right. LV Hushan, I really didn't expect that you would think that such an important task was simple when I asked you to do it. I really misjudged you. LV Hushan waved his hand and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. I just want to know, how did a simple ores receiving task become a dangerous task? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, the most important thing is that the ores you asked me to receive are relatively common ores with low prices. To put it bluntly, even if you threw them on the side of the road, I'm afraid that no one would pick them up. Since not many people want these ores, what danger is there? Yuan Weiqing, I want to hear what explanation you have to give me. After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, since you want to know, then I'll tell you. I think as long as you know the importance of this matter, you shouldn't have so many complaints, right? LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. Quickly give me a reasonable explanation. Yuan Weiqing nodded and said slowly, LV Hushan, our Nanjun secret thunder sect refers to the production of powerful firearms. It can be said that our name is based on these firearms. Just like the thunderbolt pills that we often use, do you know how many ores are needed to make them? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued to speak. LV Hushan, the production of thunderbolt pills requires so many ores. Whether it is expensive ores or cheap ores, as long as one is missing, there is no way to make it successfully. It is also because of this reason that every kind of ore is very important to us. Just like the cheap ore you mentioned, you may feel that it is insignificant, but do you know that without this kind of cheap ore, we would not be able to produce the thunderclap pills? More importantly, the thunderbolt pills we produce are in short supply. It can be said that every time, we order before we produce because we lack ores and can't make more thunderbolt pills. And the ores you receive, although the price is not high, are important ores for making thunderbolt pills. Chapter 837. Yuan Weiqing continued, LV Hushan, the cheap ore you received might be a kind of ore that is urgently needed. It can be said that although the price of this ore is not high, the entire Tanlei sect in the South County is waiting for this ore because only by obtaining this ore can they continue to produce thunderbolt pills. At this point, Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and sighed, LV Hushan, do you know how many people there are in the Tanlei sect in the South County? They all rely on the thunderbolt pills to make a living. If they don't have that cheap ore, they won't be able to produce thunderbolt pills and naturally won't have an income. LV Hushan, there are so many people in the Tanlei sect in the South County. If they don't have an income, what will they eat and drink? Have you thought about this problem? Perhaps you think that this kind of cheap ore is not valuable, but have you never thought that everyone in the Tanlei sect in the South County is waiting for this ore? LV Hushan, think about it carefully. Under such circumstances, if I send the old people and children to get this ore, if there is an accident, how will everyone in the Tanlei sect in the South County be able to eat? Do you think that the problem of so many people is not a very serious problem? At this point, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer him. Also, LV Hushan, do you know how many people are waiting to buy our thunderbolt pills? Maybe we can save many people if we produce them a day earlier. LV Hushan, think about it carefully. Is it important for me to ask you to get this kind of cheap ore? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was stunned. Then, he sneered and said, Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. Who would believe your words? Other than us, who else would use that kind of cheap ore? I just want to know, if you send the old people and children to get this ore, why would they have an accident? Could it be that someone else would snatch this ore? LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer him. He sneered and continued to speak without caring for Yuan Weiqing. Yuan Weiqing, even if they successfully snatched it, what can they do? This kind of ore is very cheap. Can they sell it for a lot of money? So let me tell you, the accident you mentioned is impossible. Since there are no benefits, no one would snatch such a worthless thing, right? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, you have too many problems. You always think that your way of thinking is right, but have you ever thought that your way of thinking is actually wrong? Wrong. LV Hushan turned around and looked at Yuan Weiqing as he asked with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, I'd like to know what's wrong with my idea. Yuan Weiqing sighed, LV Hushan, you're not thinking about things comprehensively, you should consider this issue. Let's say we're the leaders of two gangs and we want to fight over something. As for me, I started early and bought a lot of thunderclap pills as a bargaining chip for our battle. As for you, because of your hesitation, you were too late. When you went to the secret thunder sect in the South County to buy thunderclap pills, there were no more. Therefore, you can only wait for new thunderclap pills to be produced before you can buy them. Moreover, you have to buy thunderclap pills because I have already prepared a lot of thunderclap pills. If you have them, you will definitely be at a disadvantage in our battle. Perhaps you will be completely destroyed by us in this battle. The thunderclap pills produced by the secret thunder sect in the South County are very powerful. No one dares to underestimate them. You are no exception. In order to protect yourself, you must buy thunderclap pills. According to the original plan, the ore will be delivered in 3 days. In 4 days, you can take the newly produced thunderclap pills back. In this way, both of us will have thunderclap pills. Even if we fight, neither of us will have the upper hand. Naturally, there will be no problem of who will destroy who. However, because I sent the old man and the children to get the ore, there was an accident. What accident was it? Of course, it was me. LV Hushan, the battle between us is about to start. I will naturally pay close attention to you and know that you want to buy thunderclap pills. However, the secret thunder sect in the South County doesn't have any in stock. We can only wait for the ore to be delivered and produce thunderclap pills again. In order to prevent you from getting the thunderclap pills, I sent people to intercept the old man and the children sent by the secret thunder sect in the South County to receive the ore. As a result, it was naturally easy for him to succeed. Most importantly, no one knows about this news. Everyone is still waiting. The old man and the children have been killed or captured by me. If I don't want to cause trouble, I can still create some chaos on their way so that they can't leave for the time being. As long as I delay them for 8 to 10 days, even if the ore is delivered, it will be too late. As for you, you don't know about this news. You are still waiting for the ore to be delivered in the secret thunder sect in the South County. Unfortunately, you didn't get it. 5 days later, it's time for us to fight. I have thunderclap pills in my hands, but you don't, so you will be defeated. Perhaps your gang will really be destroyed by us. At this point, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment before he slowly said, LV Hushan, think about it. You were defeated because you didn't buy the thunderclap pills produced by the secret thunder sect in the South County. Countless members of the entire gang were killed because the secret thunder sect in the South County didn't produce thunderclap pills. The main reason for this is, of course, that the person who went to receive the ore was in a disadvantageous situation, which was the result. LV Hushan, if you send an important person to get these ores, it won't be easy for him to have an accident, and the chances of success will be higher. Although you don't feel anything, you sent the ores back on time, at least you saved many people. Do you understand? Therefore, although these ores are not valuable, it doesn't affect their importance at all. Perhaps without these cheap ores we would have lost many people. Now, do you still think that these cheap ores are not important? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan's eyes narrowed. After a while, he reacted and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you're really amazing. You actually said that an ordinary cheap ore is so important. However, do you think you can fool me with this? This is impossible. At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, you said that the two gangs fought, so that's why there was such a result. However, how many gangs would wait for the thunderclap pills to fight? Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you, this is impossible. If they really wanted to fight, they would have bought the thunderclap pills long ago. Why would they wait until the fight was about to happen before they remembered to buy the thunderclap pills? Yuan Weiqing, you'd better not lie to me. Honestly admit that you tricked me. Why do you have to say these tricks? Seeing that LV Hushan was not fooled, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. He then waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, why? Do you think I'm wrong? LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, let's not talk about whether you're right or not. I just want to say that in this world, there is no such stupid gang. If they were really so stupid, they would have been destroyed by others long ago. Can't they prepare some thunderclap pills early? Do they have to wait until the fight is about to happen before they buy them? Yuan Weiqing, this is unrealistic. You're talking nonsense. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I'm just giving you an analogy. In fact, this matter can be reduced to a fight between two families. Is it that a fight between two families won't have that kind of problem? Hearing this, LV Hushan couldn't help but frown. Yuan Weiqing, if it's a fight between two families, Do they still need the thunderclap pills? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Of course. Why wouldn't they need it? Could it be that in a fight between them they can be killed at will? LV Hushan, you're wrong. The fight between two families is more serious. They need the thunderclap pills more. Do you understand? Hearing these words, LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't lie to me. I won't believe you. In a fight between two families, whoever is stronger will naturally win. Why would they still need to use those thunderclap pills? Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, in fact, have you ever thought that even in a fight between two families, they all want to be the winner, so they will definitely fight for the most favorable situation for themselves? The thunderclap pills produced by our secret thunder sect in the South County can give them a great chance of winning. Why wouldn't they use them? Unless they don't want to win. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, and what you said just now, if the two gangs want to fight, why didn't they prepare some thunderclap pills early? LV Hushan, you may think so, but sometimes you can't do what you think. For example, you know that the two gangs are going to fight in a month. Logically speaking, you should go to the secret thunder sect in the South County to buy some thunderclap pills. However, it just so happens that your gang has some problems and the funds are not available for a while, so you can't buy them in time. You can only buy them when the funds are normal. LV Hushan, if such a problem occurs, how will you explain it? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, that's impossible. Even if the gang is short of funds, it's impossible for them to go to such an extent. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, why is it impossible? This is very possible. Our secret thunder sect in the South County can produce thunderclap pills in exchange for funds to support a large number of gang members. However, don't forget that even our secret thunder sect in the South County has a shortage of funds. Of course, this doesn't happen often, but it has happened before. LV Hushan, if the enemy chooses to attack us at that time, then we won't have any gold coins to buy thunderclap pills, right? The other gangs are the same as us. It can even be said that they might not be as good as us because we can produce thunderclap pills, and they can only rely on some other things to survive. So, sometimes it's normal for there to be an accident with funds, right? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. Even if there's a shortage of funds, can't we borrow some for emergencies first? I don't believe that at that time, which gang leader wouldn't think of this unless he wants his gang to be destroyed by the enemy. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing let out a sigh as he slowly said, LV Hushan, everything is not as simple as you think. Just like what you said, when you don't have gold coins, do you think you can borrow gold coins from others? That's right, LV Hushan. LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I don't believe it. I'm not going to ask for gold coins. Why can't I borrow them? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, although the thunderclap pill is very powerful, it's also very expensive. If you borrow less, you won't be able to buy many thunderclap pills, and it might not be useful. But if you borrow more, do you think anyone will be willing to lend it to you? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, why not? It's a loan, and it will be returned sooner or later. If possible, I can add some interest. Can't I do that? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, if you have gold coins in hand, it's not difficult to borrow gold coins. But if you don't, I'm afraid it's not easy to borrow gold coins. Of course, with your face, you may be able to borrow a small amount of gold coins, but it's almost impossible to borrow a lot of gold coins. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question. LV Hushan, let's make an example. If I borrow 1 million gold coins from you now, will you lend it to me? Hearing this, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I don't have 1 million gold coins. How can I lend it to you? Do you want me to borrow gold coins and then lend it to you? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, if you have 1 million gold coins now, which is all your property, and I'm in a difficult period now, would you lend it to me? Hearing this, LV Hushan was suddenly stunned, and his brows gradually furrowed. How is this possible? I have 1 million gold coins. How can I lend it all to him? However, this was LV Hushan's subconscious thought, but he also understood the meaning of Yuan Weiqing's question, so he immediately nodded and said with a sneer. Yuan Weiqing, of course I'm willing. If I have 1 million gold coins, as long as you ask, I will definitely lend it to you. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing shook his head and suddenly sneered. LV Hushan, don't lie to me. You can't lend it to me. Chapter 838. Yuan Weiqing continued, LV Hushan, you won't lend it to me. If you really have 1 million gold coins, you may lend me 100 gold coins. But if you want to lend me all 1 million gold coins, I'm afraid it's impossible even in a dream. Hearing this, LV Hushan hurriedly waved his hand. How is that possible? If I really have 1 million gold coins, I will definitely lend it to you. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, we are all smart people. Don't talk nonsense. Let me tell you, this matter is just like what I said just now. It's not that easy. There is no capital in the gang. It's impossible to borrow gold coins. So, what I said will definitely happen. Do you understand? Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, if you can't borrow a lot of gold coins, then borrow less. Although it's less, you can buy some thunderbolt pills to protect yourself, right? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, let me tell you. If you buy less, it will only cause a little loss to the other party. It's impossible to completely change the situation. For example, the gold coins you borrow are only enough to buy 10 thunderbolt pills, but the other party has 100 thunderbolt pills. If the two sides fight with such a gap, let me ask you, who will win in the end? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question. LV Hushan, in fact, I know even if you don't say it. The person with 100 thunderbolt pills will definitely win in the end. In this case, why did he buy those 10 thunderbolt pills? LV Hushan, don't argue anymore. What I asked you to do is very important. It's definitely not a scam like what you think. You are overthinking, understand? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan opened his mouth. But he couldn't say anything because he couldn't even defend himself. What Yuan Weiqing said was very reasonable. Even if LV Hushan felt that something was wrong, he couldn't tell what was wrong, so he could only endure it. Seeing that LV Hushan did not answer him, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, since the first day you came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, I knew that you were not an easy person to get along with. Therefore, I tried my best to satisfy all your conditions. From the very beginning, I didn't intend to let you do those dangerous missions. I just wanted you to do some logistics work at home. You shouldn't have any complaints, right? However, you're not satisfied with your work in the logistics department. You always quarrel with your companions and complain that you're doing the most. But you've never thought about it. When you're doing logistics missions, everyone is risking their lives to do things. And your share of danger is shared by everyone. Even so, you're not grateful to everyone. Instead, you complain that everyone has asked you to do too many things. Later on, you took the initiative to ask me to do those dangerous missions. Although I didn't want to, I still agreed. And since I promised you, I must do it. Therefore, I asked you to keep doing dangerous missions. As for the logistics work, there are plenty of people who are willing to do it. Do you understand? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was a little annoyed. Yuan Weiqing, it's fine if you don't mention this. I'm so angry when I talk about it. Yuan Weiqing, let me ask you. When I'm doing logistics work, I'm doing all the logistics work alone. However, when I'm doing dangerous missions, the rest of the people are doing the logistics work, and I'm doing all the missions. I just want to ask why this is. Am I doing all the work alone? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's expression changed, but he quickly returned to normal. LV Hushan, you've misunderstood. How can this be? After you don't do the logistics mission, someone has to do it. Do you want to pick anyone to do the logistics mission? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, when I'm doing the logistics mission, I'm doing it alone. Why is it that when they're doing the logistics mission, everyone is doing it? Yuan Weiqing, do you think I'm easy to bully, so you always want to bully me? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, to tell you the truth, it's really not what you think. In the team, the logistics work is the best job. Everyone knows this. In the beginning, when you were asked to do the logistics work, everyone was actually very jealous. When you're not doing it, everyone wants to do the logistics work. For this job, everyone is fighting over it. I have no choice, so I can only set a day for each of them. Otherwise, this matter will be really difficult to solve. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan could not help but be stunned. Then, he sneered, Yuan Weiqing, do you think I'm a fool? Do you think I don't know anything? Let me tell you, I'm the protector of the secret Thunder sect in the South County. I know the problem. Say everyone is fighting to do logistics work, but in other teams, why is it that no one is willing to do logistics tasks, and everyone wants to do dangerous tasks? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, who told you this? How could such a thing happen? Let me tell you, they must want to lie to you. They're afraid that you'll do the logistics work, so they told you this, right? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you're wrong. When I asked this, I was already the protector of the secret Thunder sect in the South County. Do you think they're afraid that I'll do the logistics work? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. Then, he smiled and waved his hand. So that's how it is. I knew it. Why is it so strange? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, what's so strange about it? I just want to ask you, is your team different from other teams? Other teams say that the logistics work is the worst, but your team's logistics work is the best. Isn't this strange? Hearing LV Hushan's question, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, you've been deceived by others. You still don't know. It seems that I can only tell you the truth. At this point, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, if you're the leader of a team, who will do the best work? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment. Then, he sneered, Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean? Why don't I understand? It's the same who does the logistics work. Is there a difference? Yuan Weiqing nodded. LV Hushan, don't you understand? The difference is huge. That's why he told you this. LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. I heard it myself. How can it be false? No matter how you explain, I won't believe you. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, if I don't tell you, you'll always be in the dark. Are you willing to do that? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment. Then, he sneered, Yuan Weiqing, since you said so, then I'd like to hear what you have to say. Yuan Weiqing nodded and said slowly, LV Hushan, let's go back to our previous topic. If you're the leader of a team, the logistics work is the best job. I'm sure that you'll let your relatives or friends do the logistics work, right? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, the expression on LV Hushan's face stiffened. He hesitated for a moment and nodded. Yuan Weiqing, I don't want to argue with you about this matter. Let's just say that you're right. Hearing LV Hushan's answer, Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, this is not a matter of arguing. This is the truth. It's useless even if you deny it. Think about it. The best job is done by your relatives and friends. You're the protector of the secret Thunder sect in the South County. Your position is higher than his. If he asks you which job is the best in the team, if you answer that it's the logistics work, think about it. If you answer like this, the next question is very likely to be who's doing the logistics work. LV Hushan, if someone asks this question, how should he answer? Do you think he'll say that his relatives and friends are doing the best job in the team? At this point, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, in order not to cause unnecessary trouble, he will definitely tell you that the logistics work is the worst job. Otherwise, when others know that his friends are doing the logistics work, he won't be able to tell others. LV Hushan, think about it carefully. Isn't this the case? Even if you're the captain of that team, I'm afraid you'll answer the same. Tell others that the worst job in the team is the logistics work. Don't you think so? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned again. For a moment, he was speechless. No matter what, he couldn't deny that Yuan Weiqing's words made sense. If others knew that the best job in his team was done by his friends, it would definitely not be good for his reputation. Therefore, he could only let others know that his friends were doing the worst job. This way, not only would he not let his friends down, but his reputation would also improve. He believed that everyone would do this kind of thing that killed two birds with one stone. Since everyone was doing this, could it be that what Yuan Weiqing said was right, and that the squad leader who told him was actually the one with ulterior motives? Thinking of this, LV Hushan had some doubts in his heart. Who was telling the truth? LV Hushan frowned. He had also done things in the team. Of course, he knew what kind of work was easy to do. Although the logistics work was cumbersome, it was not dangerous. This was something that other tasks couldn't compare to. Those companions who went out to do dangerous tasks seemed to be very relaxed every day, but when it came to doing the task, it was really tiring and dangerous. LV Hushan had done many dangerous tasks. There were several times when he almost couldn't come back. At that time, he really regretted it. The logistics work was good. Why did he have to suffer this kind of hardship? Could it be that I really misunderstood Yuan Weiqing? In fact, he was really good to me, but I just didn't understand it. Thinking of this, LV Hushan actually had a feeling of guilt in his heart. After talking for so long, didn't I just want to tell Yuan Weiqing that he was cheating me? Although LV Hushan felt that what Yuan Weiqing said was right, he couldn't believe that Yuan Weiqing was really good to him. After so many years, other than not being familiar with Yuan Weiqing at the beginning, he didn't know how he was like. After a long time and getting familiar with Yuan Weiqing, LV Hushan began to believe that Yuan Weiqing was definitely not a good person. This was because many times, LV Hushan could feel that Yuan Weiqing was cheating him. No matter how he quibbled, he could not change the truth in LV Hushan's heart. Many times when he was doing missions, LV Hushan was really in danger. At that time, he hated Yuan Weiqing in his heart. Why did he arrange such a dangerous mission for him? There were so many people in the secret Thunder sect in the South County. Why did he only let him come alone? Thinking of this, LV Hushan snorted coldly and turned to look at Yuan Weiqing. Yuan Weiqing, you're very good at talking. I'm impressed that you can make sense of this kind of thing. However, I know very well what I've suffered. No matter what you say, I won't believe you. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing shook his head and sighed. LV Hushan, I don't want you to believe me. As long as I have a clear conscience, I won't let myself down. As for whether you believe me or not, I really don't care. Even if you don't believe me now, when you understand in the future, you will understand my painstaking efforts and believe me. Therefore, I'm not in a hurry. I can wait for the day when you understand. LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, don't talk nonsense. Let me ask you, why do you always let me go alone every time I do a dangerous mission? Why don't you let others help you? At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, there are many times when you clearly need two people to complete a mission, but you insist on making me go alone. Let me ask you, aren't you tricking me by doing this? Could it be that you're treating me well? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing suddenly sneered. LV Hushan, you're right. Many missions do need two people, and I did send you alone. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan's eyes suddenly widened and he sneered. Yuan Weiqing, this time you finally admit that you're cheating me, right? There were several times when I almost couldn't come back in the face of such a situation. Do you know that? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I know, but what can I do? You can't blame me for this matter. What? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan was furious. Chapter 839. LV Hushan was a little annoyed. Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean by this? You let me do such a dangerous task alone, and you dare to say that I don't blame you? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words, he sneered and continued. Yuan Weiqing, do you think I'm a fool? As long as you fool me, I will believe you? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, why should I fool you? What benefits do I get from fooling you? Tell me, I want to know too. What benefits? Hearing these words, LV Hushan was suddenly stunned, then he sneered and said, Yuan Weiqing, how would I know what benefits you'll obtain? But I'm sure that you'll definitely obtain benefits. Otherwise, why would you do this? Yuan Weiqing shook his head, sighed, and said slowly, LV Hushan, I won't get any benefits. Think about it carefully. Even if you were killed by those beasts when you were performing a dangerous task, what benefits would I get? You don't have any property. In other words, even if you did, if you were killed, your things wouldn't belong to me. In addition, I don't owe you money. As long as you are killed, I don't have to pay you back. Also, we have a harmonious relationship. Why would I harm you? Tell me, why do you hate me so much? No matter what I do, why do you think the worst of it? Hearing these words, LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, it's not that I think the worst of it, but you did it. Are you still unwilling to admit it? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, since I didn't do it, why should I admit it? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, my question just now was about the dangerous task that requires two people to complete, but you let me go alone. Then, let me ask you, aren't you harming me? Hearing LV Hushan's question, Yuan Weiqing let out a sigh and said slowly, LV Hushan, there are some words that I didn't want to say. But since you want to ask and frame me, I have no choice but to tell you. I hope you won't be sad. LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I hope you will tell the truth. Since you dared to trick me, you should bravely admit it. Yuan Weiqing ignored LV Hushan's words and said slowly, LV Hushan, ever since you came to the secret Thunder sect in the South County, you've been dissatisfied with everything. I asked you to do logistics work. It's clearly the best job, but you're still dissatisfied. Do you know how many people you have offended when you were working in the logistics department? Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for LV Hushan to answer his question and continued to speak. LV Hushan, I'll tell you the truth. Our team has a total of 8 people, and you've offended all of them. You even complain about me every day. In your eyes, I'm a bad person. LV Hushan, think about it. Since everyone hates you, who would be willing to do missions with you? You're right. There are many dangerous missions that require 2 people to complete together. However, no one is willing to go with you. Even if I beg them, they won't go with you. What can I do? Speaking up to this point, Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, you're really something. You've only been here for a short period of time, yet you've already offended everyone, causing everyone to speak ill of you. Not only that, even if someone partnered up with you to do a quest, they would still be mocked. In this state, LV Hushan, think about it. Who else would be willing to do missions with you? To be honest, I'm also very helpless. Seeing you like this, I once thought of letting you go back to logistics work to make up for this mistake. But what about you? You resolutely disagreed and insisted on doing the dangerous mission. LV Hushan, since you're so determined, what can I do? Others don't want to be in the same team as you. I can't force them to go. You don't want to do the mission alone. What can I do? LV Hushan, let me ask you. If you encounter such a thing, what would you do if you were me? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan's face became very ugly. His mood was even worse. He never thought that the truth of the matter turned out to be like this. It wasn't that Yuan Weiqing didn't want to send 2 people to perform those missions, but it was because no one was willing to accompany him. LV Hushan somewhat believed what Yuan Weiqing said because when he was doing logistics work, he had quarreled with many people and even fought with them. LV Hushan's martial arts in this team was good. In addition to Yuan Weiqing, there was another person whose martial arts were a little higher than him. Except for these 2 people, no one was LV Hushan's opponent. So when everyone fought, LV Hushan often had the upper hand and beat the other party. Thinking of this, LV Hushan secretly sighed in his heart. He felt that it was because of this reason that everyone hated him. At that time, because he was too irritated when he was doing logistics work, LV Hushan's temper was also very bad. When he fought with others, he was not willing to be merciful. The most serious incident was when he fought with a teammate. Because the other party's martial arts skills were too weak, he actually broke the other party's arm. Although he paid for the medical expenses, he was sure that the teammate he broke would definitely hate him. Because, from then on, the teammate basically stopped talking to him. Even if the 2 of them bumped into each other, the teammate would definitely not greet him. Thinking of this, LV Hushan frowned and thought in his heart. Could it be that it was really because of these reasons that the teammates in the team hated him? When he went to do the mission, no one was willing to be with him. Is this really the case? Yuan Weiqing saw that LV Hushan lowered his head and did not speak. He sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, I didn't lie to you. It's all true. I know that after you heard the news, you must be upset, so I never told you. I was afraid that you would be sad. However, you must ask today, so I have no choice but to tell you this unfortunate news. I hope you can understand why I only sent you alone when you were on a dangerous mission and not 2 people together. At that time, I thought that you understood this matter, but now it seems that I was wrong. Not only do you not understand me, but you also hate me in your heart. So I have to say these words today. Even if you are sad, I can only say this. I hope that you will not hate me anymore. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned. He suddenly regretted asking this question. If he did not know the truth of this matter, he would not be upset, but now that he knew, he was really upset. The most important thing was that this matter was not Yuan Weiqing's fault. He could only blame himself. It was his bad relationship with everyone, so it led to this reason. Thinking of this, LV Hushan's heart suddenly moved and a trace of doubt flashed in his heart. What's going on? Why does everyone hate me? Why is this? Why did I offend them? It was because I was doing the logistics work, and I was asked to do it alone, so I was angry and did not know the severity of the matter. At that time, he only thought that Yuan Weiqing was setting him up, so he was full of anger and vented it on his teammates, which led to this result. Thinking of this, LV Hushan suddenly understood why there was such a result. The reason for all this was not his fault, but Yuan Weiqing in front of him. It was all because of Yuan Weiqing that he was asked to do the logistics work, so he did not get along well with everyone. That's right. If I didn't do the logistics work, how could there be these problems? It must be. Yuan Weiqing deliberately set me up, so he asked me to do the logistics work. Then, he asked me to do too many things which made me angry. Then, of course, I offended all my colleagues. Thinking of this, LV Hushan understood everything. All of this was done by Yuan Weiqing. If Yuan Weiqing did not arrange for me to do the logistics work, these things would not have happened. Thinking of this, LV Hushan suddenly raised his head, looked at Yuan Weiqing, and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I really didn't expect you to be so scheming. When I first came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, you had already started to plot against me. You are really ruthless. I finally know you. Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned and asked with some doubts, LV Hushan, didn't I say it very clearly just now? This matter has nothing to do with me. It's everyone who doesn't want to do the mission with you. This is all your own reason. You should understand. Why do you still hate me? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, are you saying that when you do the mission alone, I should force everyone to go with you? Let me tell you, this is impossible. If I force them to do the mission with you, if they go to the hall master to complain about me, then I will be the unlucky one. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, I'm not talking about this matter. From the beginning, when I came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, you asked me to do the logistics work. If I'm not wrong, your purpose at that time was to make me offend everyone, right? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, what are you talking about? Why would I plot against you? Why don't I understand? What benefits would I get from plotting against you? LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I don't know what benefits you would get from plotting against me, but you did it. I also want to know the reason. Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, don't try to deny it. I have seen through you. You are such a person. Since I came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, you have been plotting against me. Tell me quickly, what is the reason? How did I offend you to make you hate me so much? Hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, what are you talking about? When you first came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, I didn't even know you. Why would I plot against you? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned and had some doubts in his heart. Yuan Weiqing was right. When he first came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, he didn't know anyone. It was also the first time Yuan Weiqing had come into contact with them. They didn't know each other. Why would Yuan Weiqing plot against him? Thinking of this question, LV Hushan was really puzzled. What was all of this for? Could it be that before he came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, he had offended Yuan Weiqing? But that was not right. Before coming to the secret thunder sect in the south region, he did not know Yuan Weiqing. It was impossible for him to offend him. But since he had not offended him, why would he harm him? Could it be that he was thinking too much? Yuan Weiqing did not harm him, nor did he plot against him from the beginning. He was just thinking too much. Was that really the case? LV Hushan did not believe it. If Yuan Weiqing was not plotting against him, why would there be so many coincidences? From the moment he came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, he had started to do logistics work. In the end, he had offended everyone, causing everyone to be unwilling to do missions with him. Although this was very dangerous, it was not without benefit. At least, He let everyone know that his ability was still very good. Perhaps it was because of this that he could become the protector of the secret Thunder sect in the South region? After all, in the face of dangerous missions, he had completed dangerous missions that could only be completed by 2 or 3 people. However, this was not the main point. If he had a choice, LV Hushan would definitely not choose to complete the mission alone. It was really too dangerous. As long as LV Hushan thought of the past, he felt a chill in his heart. Many times when he went to do missions, he almost could not come back. LV Hushan had already deeply experienced this kind of dangerous moment. He remembered very clearly that there was once when he went to the Black Mountain to retrieve the black ore. There was a kind of ferocious beast on the Black Mountain that was quite powerful. Even if LV Hushan wanted to deal with it, it would be impossible. According to his past experience, although the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain was very powerful, if 2 people did this mission together, this matter would be much simpler. Although the attack power of the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain was very strong, its movement speed was not fast. Under such circumstances, as long as one person restrained the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain, the other person could go and retrieve the black ore. However, the problem was that LV Hushan was only one person. He did not have any helpers. If he wanted to obtain the black ore, he could only eliminate the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain. However, it was not that easy. Even if LV Hushan went all out, he might not be able to defeat the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain. Chapter 840. Thinking of this, LV Hushan was terrified. If it weren't for his good luck, he might not have been able to come back that time. LV Hushan still remembered very clearly that when he went there, he followed the designated location to find the black ore. As a result, he encountered the beasts on the Black Mountain. At that time, he also knew that there were beasts on the Black Mountain, but he never expected the beasts on the Black Mountain to be so powerful. The 2 sides only fought for a while, and LV Hushan was already injured by the beasts on the Black Mountain. Not long after the 2 sides fought, LV Hushan fell into a disadvantage. Just as he was about to die, a person happened to appear on the mountain. This person rushed over to help, and LV Hushan escaped and took the opportunity to run out. At that time, LV Hushan also understood that there had to be someone to pin down the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain. So when he saw that person already fighting with the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain, he didn't care about that person's cries for him to help. He immediately turned around and ran to find the black ore. This person's martial arts were not much worse than LV Hushan's. If the 2 of them were to deal with the beasts on the Black Mountain, they should be able to fight to a draw. However, there was only one person left. He couldn't run away, so he could only grit his teeth and persevere. He thought that if he went to help and killed the beasts on the Black Mountain with LV Hushan, there should be no problem. However, he never expected that LV Hushan would run away. It wasn't easy for LV Hushan to find the black ores and get enough of them before he left. When he came back, he saw the ferocious beasts running towards him from afar. It gave him a fright and he immediately ran down the mountain. After running to a safe place, LV Hushan remembered that there was another person who was holding back the beasts on the Black Mountain for him. However, he had already gone down the mountain. If he had to face the beasts on the Black Mountain again, he would definitely not go. LV Hushan looked at the Black Mountain and silently prayed for that person in his heart. Then, he immediately turned and left the Black Mountain. As for the person who came to help, he could only pray for the best. However, LV Hushan also understood that when he found the black ore, the beasts on the Black Mountain had already chased over. This was enough to show that the person who rushed over to help had probably been killed by the beasts on the Black Mountain. Thinking that this person came to help him, but he actually ran away, LV Hushan felt a little guilty. However, this guilt quickly turned into anger towards Yuan Weiqing. If Yuan Weiqing hadn't asked him to come to Black Mountain alone, he wouldn't have encountered the ferocious beasts on Black Mountain, and he wouldn't have wanted to be killed by them. As for the person who helped him and was killed by the ferocious beast on the Black Mountain, LV Hushan could only secretly pray that it wasn't his fault. If there was anyone to blame, then blame Yuan Weiqing. Thinking of this, LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and said coldly, "Yuan Weiqing, do you know that because of you, a person was killed by a ferocious beast on the Black Mountain? Don't you feel guilty?" Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment. He asked with some doubts, "LV Hushan, what does this have to do with me? Why should I feel guilty? I didn't ask him to go." LV Hushan sneered, "Yuan Weiqing, don't quibble anymore. If you hadn't only sent me to the Black Mountain to get the black ore, I wouldn't have been in danger, and that person wouldn't have come to help me." At this point, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but immediately after, he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. "Yuan Weiqing, do you know how grateful I was when that person came to help me? If it wasn't for him holding back the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain for me, how would I have been able to obtain the black ores? Speaking of which, if it wasn't for you, how could he have been killed by the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain?" Yuan Weiqing was a little stunned. He didn't understand why this kind of thing would happen to him. Could it be that as long as one of the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain died, he would have to do it once? Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. "LV Hushan, from what you're saying, it seems that when you went to the Black Mountain, someone helped you?" LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, of course. If it wasn't for my good luck, I'm afraid I would have been killed by the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain." Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing's frown deepened, and he asked with some doubts, "LV Hushan, since someone helped you, the two of you should be able to chase away the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain, right?" Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment, then he sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, it's easy for you to say. If the two of us can't beat the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain, what should we do?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing understood a little, and asked tentatively, "LV Hushan, you were afraid that even if the two of you couldn't beat the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain, so you ran away alone, right?" LV Hushan was stunned for a moment, then he sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, this is all your fault. If it wasn't for the black ore, why would I leave the battlefield? Speaking of which, this is all because you only sent me alone, leaving him alone to resist the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain. Tell me, shouldn't you feel guilty because of this matter?" Yuan Weiqing sighed. "LV Hushan, it has nothing to do with me, so why should I feel guilty? Speaking of which, the one who should feel guilty is you. This person kindly came to help you, but you actually ran away. LV Hushan, I'm sure that if you didn't run away, that person might not have been killed. Do you believe me?" After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned, turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing, and sighed. "Yuan Weiqing, why do you think so? If I didn't run away, what if he saw that he couldn't beat the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain and ran away first? At that time, wouldn't the person who died be me?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. He turned his head to look at LV Hushan and asked in confusion, "LV Hushan, do you really think so?" LV Hushan sighed. "Yuan Weiqing, I have a mission to do in the Black Mountain this time. If I can't get the black ore back, the Tanlei sect in the South County won't be able to produce Thunderbolt pills. At that time, wouldn't it affect the major event? Therefore, my mission is more important than his. Even if I have to run, I have to run first. What I'm worried about is that he can't tell the severity of the matter and doesn't care about my heavy responsibility. If he runs away first, it will be terrible." After hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was shocked and looked at LV Hushan with a dumbfounded expression. After a while, he asked tentatively, But, LV Hushan, have you ever thought that he's here to help you? Hearing this, LV Hushan sighed. I know. That's why I'm very grateful to him for helping me. I still remember him. Also, I want to tell you this news and let you know that it was your mistake that caused a person to be killed by the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain. I want you to feel guilty for the rest of your life. After hearing this, Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I've already said that this matter has nothing to do with me. Why should I feel guilty? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you know that the ferocious beasts on the Black Mountain are very powerful, but you still sent me alone. I know very well what you're thinking, but unfortunately, nothing happened to me, but something happened to someone else. Shouldn't you be responsible for your mistake? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, let's not talk about this matter. No matter what, this person went to help you, not me. Do you understand? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his words, he continued to speak. LV Hushan, the most important thing is that you went to the Black Mountain to perform your own mission. This has nothing to do with me. This is all your own fault. If it weren't for your bad relationship with your colleagues, why wouldn't they be willing to go with you? So, LV Hushan, you can only blame yourself for this matter. He can't blame me. Do you understand? LV Hushan was a little annoyed when he heard such strong evidence being used by Yuan Weiqing. Yuan Weiqing, you're tricking me. Are you still not willing to admit it? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, ever since you came to the secret Thunder sect in the South County, I've been taking care of you. However, not only are you not grateful to me, but you even hate me. What else can I do? LV Hushan clenched his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you, most of the dangerous missions can't be completed by one person. However, no matter how dangerous the mission is, you let me go alone. Don't you think that I will be in danger? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, I've told you about this before. You were the one who didn't agree. What does it have to do with me? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you told me that whenever you assign me a dangerous mission, as long as I had any complaints, you would immediately tell me. If you didn't want to do these dangerous missions, you could return to your logistics job. At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you, no matter how difficult the mission is, I will never do logistics work again, and let you order me around like a servant. Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, you're thinking too much. Who treats you like a servant? This is impossible, right? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, why is it impossible? You're doing this. Why are you saying it's impossible now? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, this is not possible. Why would I say it's possible? You're just doing logistics work. How can you be our servant? Don't misunderstand. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, misunderstanding? What is a misunderstanding? A misunderstanding means that you're doing it for my own good, but I'm wrong. That's a misunderstanding. But what about you? Are you doing it for my own good? No, you're setting me up. You're harming me. How can it be for my own good? At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you why I don't want to do logistics work. If I do that job, I will become your servant. I have to clean your room and prepare hot water for you every day. This is not what a servant should do. Then tell me, what should a servant do? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing waved his hand and asked with a smile, LV Hushan, since you said so, then let me ask you, what should logistics work be like? In other words, what should a person doing logistics work do? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, Doing logistics work is, of course, managing the logistics life of all the team members. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing couldn't help but frown. He asked curiously, "LV Hushan, then tell me, what should I do specifically?" LV Hushan nodded. Doing logistics work, the main job should be to manage the logistics life of everyone. For example, if someone's room is dirty or messy, he should be punished. He should be asked to clean up quickly and tidy up the room. Also, if someone's quilt is not folded properly, he should be checked and asked to fold it again. He should also be punished. In short, doing logistics work is doing this kind of work. Otherwise, what's the difference between it and being a servant? Hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing frowned and asked tentatively, "LV Hushan, according to what you mean, I, as the captain, should be under your management." "Of course." LV Hushan nodded. "Yuan Weiqing, can the captain not be hygienic? Can he fold the quilt carelessly? Let me tell you, doing logistics work should be doing these things, not doing things like a servant as you said. Do you understand?" After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing finally understood the crux of this matter. It turned out that LV Hushan actually wanted to do this kind of logistics work, but unfortunately, the secret Thunder sect in the South County did not have this kind of logistics work. Yuan Weiqing sighed. "LV Hushan, your requirements are too high. I really can't meet them. No wonder you hate me. You really should hate me. I really can't let you do these things." Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, think about it. Since I started working in the logistics department, what have you done? Nothing. I've done it all by myself. Cleaning the room, preparing hot water for you, and even making me send hot water to the room. Tell me, is this reasonable?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing could not help but frown. "LV Hushan, why don't I remember this?" LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, it seems that your memory is really not very good. Otherwise, why can't you remember?" Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he sneered and continued. "Yuan Weiqing, I think you can't remember, right?" Chapter 841. Yuan Weiqing frowned. He lowered his head and thought for a moment. Then he shook his head. "LV Hushan, I really can't remember such a thing." LV Hushan sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, it seems that you will only admit it if I tell you the truth?" Yuan Weiqing shook his head with a wry smile. "LV Hushan, I really can't remember such a thing. If you can remember it, then tell me. When did it happen?" LV Hushan snorted and said slowly, "Yuan Weiqing, do you remember that Shao Qi and the others were injured when they went to do a mission? After they came back, you didn't let anyone else do it because you needed hot water to clean their wounds. Instead, you asked me to boil the water immediately and send it over as soon as possible." Speaking of this, LV Hushan turned his head and looked at Yuan Weiqing. He sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, tell me, is there such a thing?" Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. After a while, he asked tentatively, "LV Hushan, are you very dissatisfied because I asked you to boil water to clean Shao Qi's wound, and you hold a grudge against me because of this?" LV Hushan gritted his teeth. "Yuan Weiqing, let me ask you. I'm here to do logistics work, not to be your servant. Since Shao Qi is injured, why don't you let someone else prepare the hot water? Why do you have me do it? Tell me, if this isn't bullying me, then what is?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a long time. Suddenly, he sighed and nodded. "LV Hushan, I was wrong. I really was wrong. I shouldn't have asked you to prepare the hot water." Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment. Then he sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, why do you have to admit that you are wrong only after I tell you the truth? Then let me ask you, do you admit that you are tricking me?" Yuan Weiqing sighed. "LV Hushan, besides this, is there anything else that makes you dissatisfied?" Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan nodded. Of course, there are many things that I'm not satisfied with. You're obviously tricking me, but you don't want to admit it. Yuan Weiqing waved his hand weakly and asked with a wry smile, LV Hushan, I was really not interested in this matter just now. Now that I've heard about it from you, I suddenly want to know what else I did wrong that made you dissatisfied? LV Hushan nodded and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, let me ask you, after Shao Qi is injured, who should wash his dirty clothes? Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for LV Hushan to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, according to reason, stingy dirty clothes should be washed by his friends, but why did you let me wash his clothes for him? Is this bullying me? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, Shao Qi is injured. He can't wash his clothes, so, before Yuan Weiqing finished his words, he was interrupted by LV Hushan. Yuan Weiqing, I know that Shao Qi is injured and he can't wash his clothes, but I don't have a good relationship with him, and I'm not his friend. Why did you let me wash his clothes for him? Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, everyone else has something to do. What can I do? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, you're talking nonsense. How can everyone have a task to do? You're obviously bullying me. You even let me do something like washing clothes. Are you still not willing to admit it? Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, I admit that I was wrong in this matter, but if you say that I tricked you, I will never admit it. Because I didn't trick you. I let you wash Shao Qi's clothes because there is no one in the team. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for LV Hushan to answer him. LV Hushan, since there is no one else, can you still let me wash Shao Qi's clothes? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, I remember that you have a good relationship with Shao Qi. Even if you wash his clothes for him, is there anything wrong with that? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned again. After a while, he nodded with a wry smile. LV Hushan, you're right. I have a good relationship with Shao Qi, so I should wash his clothes. I understand. Hearing that Yuan Weiqing finally admitted his mistake, LV Hushan nodded with satisfaction. Yuan Weiqing, in fact, from that time, I already knew that you were targeting me, right? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing suddenly raised his head and looked at LV Hushan. He sneered and said, LV Hushan, first of all, I don't know you since you came to the secret thunder sect in the south region, so there is no problem of me targeting you. Secondly, I asked you to do logistics work because I was worried that your martial arts were not good enough. If you went out to do dangerous tasks and had an accident, it would not be good for all of us. Finally, I want to say that whether you do logistics work or go out to do dangerous tasks, I basically won't participate in your affairs, so there is no cheating, understand? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, you still refuse to admit it. Do you think that these things are in the past and we have forgotten? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I really think so. It's in the past. Why are we still talking about it, don't you think so? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you think these things are in the past, but I tell you, I will never forget what you did to me. Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, what did I do to you? Why do you remember me so much? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, I really didn't expect that I would meet someone like you as soon as I came to the secret thunder sect in the south region. You have been targeting me all the time. If I hadn't become the protector of the secret thunder sect in the south region, I might have been kicked out by you long ago. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing couldn't hold it in any longer and said with some annoyance, LV Hushan, I've already said that these things have nothing to do with me. It's all your imagination. Don't you understand? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I'm not imagining things, but you did it. If you didn't do it, How could I say that? Yuan Weiqing, let me ask you, did you do this thing that I'm talking about? Hearing LV Hushan's question, Yuan Weiqing sighed and nodded slowly. Yes, I did do it, but I don't think I did anything wrong. Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, the truth is right in front of you, but you still don't dare to admit your mistake. Did I say something wrong? Yuan Weiqing shook his head and said with a wry smile, LV Hushan, you think you did the right thing, and I also think I did the right thing, so there is no right or wrong in this matter. You can say that you are right, and I can say that I am not wrong. These things are in the past, so let's not mention it again. Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you don't want to mention it because you are in the wrong. If you were in the right, you would be eager for me to say it, right? Yuan Weiqing turned to look at LV Hushan and said with a sigh, LV Hushan, it's because of these reasons that you think I've wronged you, so you used the wild bear's feces to harm me. Is that right? LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, if it's just because of these things, I will let it go. I will be magnanimous and not bother with you, but you said bad things about me behind my back. I can't stand it. Said bad things about you? Yuan Weiqing was a little puzzled. LV Hushan, when did I say bad things about you? How come I don't remember? LV Hushan waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, let's not talk about those things. Anyway, it's in the past. I don't want to think about it. What I want to say is, in fact, even if you said bad things about me behind my back, at least you can't hurt me. However, you hurt me when I was doing a mission, and I almost couldn't come back several times. This is absolutely unforgivable. You almost couldn't come back several times. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, it can't be. I only remember that when you went to Black Mountain, it was indeed dangerous. At that time, I also advised you, but you didn't listen. Then, I wanted to find other team members to help you, but these team members agreed to leave the secret Thunder sect in the South County. They definitely wouldn't cooperate with you. I had no choice, so that's why that happened. As for the other things you said, why don't I have any impression of them? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you hurt me. As long as you admit it, you can still be considered a good man. But look at you, you dare to do it but don't dare to admit it. I really look down on you, do you know that? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, let's not talk about that first. I just want to know, what other thing caused you to almost not be able to come back? LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, since you want to know, there's no need for me to hide it from you. I'll tell you today. At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, do you still remember that you once asked me to go to Tiger Mountain to deliver Thunderbolt pills? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Of course I remember. Brother Meng, whose martial arts are not bad. I've also been to Tiger Mountain twice. Although the terrain there is steep, the scenery is very good. If you have time, it's not bad to rest there. When LV Hushan heard this, he sneered. Yuan Weiqing, our secret Thunder sect in the South County is all about money and goods, right? Yuan Weiqing nodded. Of course. Our secret Thunder sect in the South County never takes credit. Is there a problem? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you also said that you've been to Tiger Mountain twice. You also know that Brother Meng, whose martial arts are very good. However, you actually asked me to deliver Thunderbolt pills alone. If this isn't cheating me, then what is it? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was a little puzzled. LV Hushan, what are you talking about? Although Brother Meng, whose martial arts are very good, he doesn't have any grudges with us. There shouldn't be any danger, right? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, I went to Tiger Mountain to deliver Thunderbolt pills. Although the road there is not easy, I finally delivered it. However, after Brother Meng, who received the goods, he didn't pay. Let me ask you, what should I do? Didn't pay. Yuan Weiqing looked at LV Hushan doubtfully. LV Hushan, it shouldn't be. Brother Meng who is not short of money. Why didn't he pay? LV Hushan, there must be some misunderstanding. Otherwise, how could this happen? LV Hushan snorted coldly. Misunderstanding? Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean by misunderstanding? They didn't pay. Is this a misunderstanding? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, no, there must be some reason. Otherwise, Brother Meng who wouldn't not pay. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing's tone paused for a moment. However, he didn't wait for LV Hushan to answer his question and continued to speak. LV Hushan, tell me what happened. I want to hear the reason. LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you still want to know the reason? Let me tell you. That time I went to Tiger Mountain to ask for payment. In the end, they broke my arm. If I didn't run fast enough, I wouldn't have been able to come back. Do you know? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing suddenly came to a realization. I know, it's that time when you used 5 thunderclap pills to escape, right? LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, if I didn't use those 5 thunderbolt pills, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back. Do you know? If you didn't ask me to deliver the thunderbolt pills alone, how could this happen? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, although you used 5 thunderbolt pills, after you came back and explained the situation, these 5 thunderbolt pills didn't cost you any gold coins? LV Hushan's face immediately changed color. Yuan Weiqing, 5 thunderbolt pills are nothing. Let me tell you, I only had 5 thunderbolt pills at that time. If there were more, I would have given them all to them. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, this isn't right. Although Brother Meng who has a bad temper, they aren't the kind of people who don't pay. How could this happen? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. A few mountain bumpkins dared to be arrogant in front of me. I said a few words to them and they refused to accept it. They wanted to compete with me. Saying this, LV Hushan turned his head and looked at Yuan Weiqing. He sneered. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you. Although they broke my arm, they didn't take advantage of me. Fortunately, I took the initiative to stab the boss's arm and weakened his fighting power. Only one of them was left to fight with me. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have been able to come back. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing seemed to understand something. He asked tentatively, LV Hushan, at that time you said that Brother Meng who was a bumpkin. As a result, they were angry and then you fought. Is that right? Chapter 842. After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered. 2 rustic guys. They didn't want to listen to me. Can you blame me? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing understood everything and sighed. LV Hushan, you can't blame them. If someone else said that to you, I'm afraid you wouldn't want to listen, right? LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, these 2 people are really rustic. They are wearing shabby clothes and they speak very humbly. One look and I can tell that they are country bumpkins who have not seen the world. How can they be compared to me? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, no matter what, you shouldn't say to them. Don't forget, you only gave them the thunderbolt pills. As for what they wear and what they look like, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, right? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I didn't intend to talk to them much. I just exchanged a few words and they began to get angry. If I didn't act quickly, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back. Yuan Weiqing suddenly realized that he couldn't continue talking to LV Hushan. Up until now, he had understood the cause of this matter. LV Hushan went to deliver the thunderclap pills to them, but in the end, he spoke rudely. The ferocious Tiger brothers were enraged, and LV Hushan took the initiative to stab their brothers. Naturally, the ferocious Tiger brothers would not let the matter rest. They immediately retaliated and broke one of LV Hushan's arms. LV Hushan relied on the fact that he attacked them first and weakened their combat power, so he was able to escape. Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing secretly sighed. In the past, he was still puzzled. The ferocious Tiger brothers would come to buy Thunderbolt pills every year. Why did LV Hushan not come to buy Thunderbolt pills after he left? Now LV Hushan finally understood. If it were him, he probably wouldn't come to the secret Thunder sect in the South region to buy Thunderbolt pills. Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, I want to know how many such things have happened during the time you were delivering the goods. LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, what do you mean? You deliberately set me up. Don't you remember how many times you set me up? Yuan Weiqing clenched his teeth. LV Hushan, since you always say that I'm setting you up, then let me ask you, what should I do to not set you up? Hearing this, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, if you really want to hear it, I can tell you. LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer him. He sneered and continued to speak without caring for Yuan Weiqing. Yuan Weiqing, when I'm on a dangerous mission, you should give me 2 or 3 assistants. Otherwise, if I meet people like the ferocious Tiger brothers, how can I beat them alone? Let me tell you, if there were more of us that day, I would have taught the ferocious Tiger brothers a lesson. Do you believe me? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was secretly shocked. At the same time, he felt extremely lucky. Fortunately, no one was willing to team up with him. Otherwise, wouldn't something big happen? Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing couldn't help but frown. He didn't understand why he was chosen to be the protector of the Tanlei sect in the South region. In Yuan Weiqing's opinion, LV Hushan was absolutely unqualified in every aspect. Seeing that Yuan Weiqing didn't speak anymore, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, until now, you still refuse to admit it? Hearing the question, Yuan Weiqing was about to shake his head, but he suddenly sighed and nodded. LV Hushan, you're right. I admit it now. I did set you up. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing raised his head to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, I really didn't expect that from the moment you came to the Tanlei sect in the South region, you started to hate me. Is it because of this reason that you want to set me up? Is it like this? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I've already said that I didn't set you up. Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, I've already admitted that I didn't treat you well. Are you still unwilling to admit that you want to set me up? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, to tell you the truth, since I came to the Tanlei sect in the South region, you didn't treat me well, so I hate you. If you really want to know, I can also tell you. Yes, you guessed right. The poop of the wild bear can indeed lower your martial art. Your friend is right. He didn't lie to you. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, what do you mean? Although I don't treat you well, you don't have to use this method to deal with me, right? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, my friend also said that if you take the poop of the wild bear for a long time, your martial arts will gradually decline. The most important thing is that this kind of martial arts that has disappeared will never be cultivated back. No matter how you cultivate, it will not increase again. LV Hushan, how much hatred do we have for you to use such a method to deal with me? Hearing these words, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, you should know very well how you treated me in the past. I'm magnanimous and I don't care about those things. However, when I become the protector of the Tanlei sect in the South region, you actually want someone else to replace me. Let me ask you, if you were me, would you be very happy? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment, then he waved his hand. LV Hushan, what are you talking about? How can I do that? Besides, even if I want to, what's the use? I'm not the hall master of the Tanlei sect in the South region. What I say doesn't count. LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, what you said is indeed right, But if I'm killed, you have the right to recommend a candidate. Am I right? Hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing's expression suddenly changed. LV Hushan, although your martial arts are not very high, you won't be killed so easily. LV Hushan sighed. So, you schemed against me and wanted me to die early so that you could fulfill your wish, right? At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, don't take me for a fool. Let me tell you, I already know about your cousin's matter. Yes, your cousin's martial arts are higher than mine, and he knows his limits. But so what? Since I didn't let him be a protector, he is definitely not as good as me. However, Yuan Weiqing, you didn't believe me and insisted on framing me. I want to ask you, what deep hatred do we have for you to deal with me like this? I used the wild bear's feces to deal with you. This is also a helpless act. If you didn't deal with me first, how could I do it to you? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, in order to deal with me, you didn't hesitate to eat the wild bear's feces. You really put a lot of thought into it. Hearing these words, LV Hushan's expression changed and he snorted coldly. Yuan Weiqing, if you didn't harm me first, how could I accompany you to eat that kind of thing? Speaking of which, it's all your fault. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I have already said that I didn't harm you. As for my cousin's matter, it's all nonsense. It has nothing to do with me. If you want to believe it, there's nothing I can do. LV Hushan frowned and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, there are so many people who can testify. Are you still not going to admit it? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, when you first came to the Tanlei sect in the South Commandery, I asked you to do the logistics work. As a result, you offended everyone. When you did the dangerous task, no one was willing to accompany you. LV Hushan, I don't believe that you really have any good friends in the Tanlei sect in the South Commandery. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and sighed. LV Hushan, I guess the reason why these people said that is that they are really framing you. They want to sow discord between us. As for the result, I believe you should know very well, right? LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't think that I don't know. You asked me to do the logistics work because you want me to offend other members. After I offend all of them, you asked me to do the dangerous task. At that time, no one will be willing to accompany me. I think this is all part of your plan, right? Yuan Weiqing was stunned and then waved his hand. LV Hushan, I have already said that I didn't know you when you first came. Why would I set you up? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan hesitated for a moment and then sneered. Yuan Weiqing, maybe you didn't like me from the first day I came, so you set me up, right? Yuan Weiqing turned his head to look at LV Hushan and said with a sigh, LV Hushan, are you ugly? LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, this has nothing to do with being good-looking or ugly. You just don't like me, so you want to frame me. Don't deny it anymore, because this is the truth. Yuan Weiqing smiled bitterly and shook his head. LV Hushan, no matter what, I didn't harm you. However, you used the wild bear's feces to harm me. This is the truth. Don't you feel guilty? LV Hushan gritted his teeth and turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing. He sneered. Yuan Weiqing, why should I feel guilty? When those bees came to chase me, I already understood how sinister your intentions were. Do you think I will still feel guilty? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, I don't know about the bees, but I can guarantee that I didn't deliberately harm you. It was an accident. Do you understand? It was just an accident. LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, there are so many good healing medicines. Why did you give me that kind of medicine? Is it my bad luck that you chose this kind of medicine? Yuan Weiqing nodded and said with a wry smile, LV Hushan, maybe it's really your bad luck. I just bought a medicine to treat injuries. I didn't expect it to attract so many bees and put you in danger. LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and sighed. Yuan Weiqing, then let me ask you. Since you think that medicine is good for treating injuries, then you should also use it. Then let me ask you, have you ever used that medicine? Hearing this sentence, Yuan Weiqing's face suddenly changed. He then smiled and said, Of course I have used it. Otherwise, how would I know that this medicine is effective? Are you lying? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan waved his hand. Yuan Weiqing, you are lying to me. You have gone out to do so many missions. Whether it is you or your companions, there will be times when you are injured. At these times, of course, you will also take out the medicine for healing injuries. But I have asked a lot of people, and they have never seen you take this kind of medicine. Yuan Weiqing, since you said that this kind of medicine is very good, why have you never used it? Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused, but then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he sneered and continued. Yuan Weiqing, are you also afraid of attracting bees, so you didn't dare to bring this kind of medicine? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, I didn't bring that kind of medicine. This is just a coincidence. Do you only bring one kind of medicine every time you go out? You are right. I didn't take out this kind of medicine, but who can guarantee that I didn't bring that kind of medicine? Maybe it's just that I didn't take it out, so they didn't see it. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, since you said so, then well, we came here. You should also bring the medicine for healing injuries. Now take out the medicine and let me see if there is any medicine that will harm me. If there is, even if I am wrong, I will apologize to you. But if there is no medicine, then you are lying. Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing's face finally changed. He said with a forced smile, LV Hushan, there is no need. Why do you have to do this? I have already said that even if I didn't bring that kind of medicine, I just happened to run out. This doesn't mean anything. LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, what you mean is that although you have a lot of medicine now, you don't have that kind of medicine, right? Yuan Weiqing hesitated for a moment, then nodded. LV Hushan, it is really a coincidence. This time, I really didn't bring that kind of medicine. LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, is it too much of a coincidence, or do you not have that kind of medicine? If I guessed right, you should have only bought that kind of medicine once, not for your own use, but for me, right? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a forced smile, LV Hushan, don't misunderstand. That kind of medicine is really used up. When we go back, I will buy some more. LV Hushan sighed and said slowly, Yuan Weiqing, since you are unwilling to admit it, then I will tell you. I know where you bought the medicine. Chapter 843. LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, in order to know whether this matter is true or not, I specifically inquired about the place where you bought the medicine. Then, I went there and asked carefully. Only then did I know that you only bought this medicine once, and only one pill at that. Yuan Weiqing, let me ask you. Since this medicine is so effective, why did you only buy it once, and only one pill? If this medicine is really effective, you should have bought a lot at once, right? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment, and then hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, you misunderstood. I did buy a lot of this medicine, but I only bought one pill from him. Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing lowered his voice and said, LV Hushan, you don't know. The medicine at his place is very expensive. If I went to other places to buy it, it would be much cheaper, so I only bought it once and never went there again. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's explanation, LV Hushan was stunned, and then he sneered and said, Yuan Weiqing, do you think I will believe your sophistry? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I don't care if you believe it or not. This is true. I am not lying to you. LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, since you said so, then I will believe you for the time being. But you have to tell me, besides buying medicine from that place, where else did you buy it? Yuan Weiqing, since you said that the medicine there is cheap, then tell me. Maybe I will buy it in the future. Speaking of this, LV Hushan's tone paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his words, and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, if you can't say it, then you are talking nonsense. Do you understand? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing's face suddenly changed. He hesitated for a moment, and his face immediately regained a smile. LV Hushan, I am ashamed to say that I really don't know where I bought it, because it was all bought for me by a friend. I don't know where it is. If you want to buy medicine there, when we go back, I can ask my friend to tell me the address, and then I will tell you. What do you think? Hearing this, LV Hushan was stunned. He didn't expect Yuan Weiqing to push the blame to his friend. LV Hushan looked at Yuan Weiqing coldly. Yuan Weiqing, do you think I will believe you? Yuan Weiqing's mind had already calmed down. He waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, the reason I said this is because this is the truth. I won't lie to you. LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, you said you wouldn't lie to me, but why do I feel like you're lying to me? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, you are too suspicious. I didn't lie to you, but you suspect that I am lying to you. But this is the truth, and I don't have to lie to you. Besides, what good would it do me to lie to you, don't you think? Benefits. LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, of course there are benefits. You can continue to lie to me in the future, right? Yuan Weiqing waved his hand. LV Hushan, I don't think we should talk about the past anymore. It will only make everyone sad. I think we should think about what to do now. What do you think? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, you still can't figure out the past. How can you talk about the future? If you want to hurt me, even if I cooperate with you, will there be a good result? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. He waved his hand and said with a smile, LV Hushan, don't think too much about the past. Now it is the most dangerous time. If we don't cooperate, I am afraid both of us will be unlucky. Don't you think so? Hearing this, LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, you're wrong. Let me tell you, even if we don't cooperate, you're the only one who will suffer. It has nothing to do with me. Do you understand? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, why don't you understand? Even if you kill me, what can you do? If I am right, after you kill me, Deputy Hall Master Zhang will definitely let you kill Hall Master Shui. You can only obey. In the end, all the people who should be killed have been killed. Do you think Deputy Hall Master Zhang will keep you alive, as you know his secret? Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for LV Hushan to answer his question, he continued. LV Hushan, wake up. If it comes to that, Deputy Hall Master Zhang will never keep you alive, because you are the only one who knows this secret. As long as you are killed, no one else will know this secret. After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, don't scare me. As long as I kill you and Hall Master Shui, I will be the closest person to Deputy Hall Master Zhang. At that time, my status will definitely be higher than now. Do you believe it? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was startled. He waved his hand repeatedly. LV Hushan, why do you think so? If you are Deputy Hall Master Zhang, will you let the person who knows your secret go? LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, I will let him go. Although he knows my secret, I also know his secret. If this matter is exposed, it will do no good to both of us. How can we talk about it? Don't you think so? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing frowned. LV Hushan, what secret does Deputy Hall Master Zhang know? Can he guarantee that you will not be killed by him? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's question, LV Hushan sighed and said slowly, Yuan Weiqing, do you know why Deputy Hall Master Zhang wants us to kill Hall Master Shui? Yuan Weiqing gritted his teeth. Of course it's because he can't bear to kill Hall Master Shui, so he wants us to do it. LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, you are wrong. Do you think Deputy Hall Master Zhang is a person who can't bear to kill Hall Master Shui? Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned. He turned to look at LV Hushan and asked doubtfully, LV Hushan, is this not the reason why Deputy Hall Master Zhang wants to kill Hall Master Shui? LV Hushan nodded at Yuan Weiqing. Of course it's not the reason you think. Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question. Yuan Weiqing, since you want to know, I will tell you. The reason why Deputy Hall Master Zhang doesn't want to kill Hall Master Shui himself is not because he can't bear to do it, but because as long as the two of us do it, this matter will become a fact. Hall Master Shui was killed by the two of us. Even if someone finds trouble in the future, they can only find trouble with the two of us. It has nothing to do with Deputy Hall Master Zhang. Do you understand? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was taken aback. Even his voice trembled a little. LV Hushan, is it possible that Deputy Hall Master Zhang wants us to kill Hall Master Shui because he wants to have something on us? LV Hushan nodded. Of course, if it wasn't like this with his martial arts, it would have been easy for him to kill Shui Tang's master. The reason why he wants the two of us to kill Hall Master Shui is that he wants to have something on us. Speaking of this, LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, think about it. It is a fact that the two of us killed Hall Master Shui. Such an important thing is in Deputy Hall Master Zhang's hands. Is he afraid that we will reveal his secret? At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you. At that time, not only will we not dare to reveal Deputy Hall Master Zhang's secret, but we will also be afraid that Deputy Hall Master Zhang will reveal our secret. In this case, the two of us will be very obedient and become Deputy Hall Master Zhang's two most loyal subordinates. Don't you think it's better than killing us? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing frowned. Does that mean that Deputy Hall Master Zhang really has no intention of killing us? LV Hushan sneered. Yuan Weiqing, can't you even see this? If he really wants to kill us, why does he wait until now? Don't you understand? Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a while, then he suddenly sighed. LV Hushan, do you mean that Deputy Hall Master Zhang wants the two of us to kill Hall Master Shui, and then he wants to have something on us and make us his most loyal subordinates? Is that so? LV Hushan nodded and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, you're right. That's why I said that if we don't cooperate, you'll be the only one who will be unlucky. It has nothing to do with me. Do you understand now? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment, then he gradually frowned. LV Hushan's words were not good news. For Yuan Weiqing, it was bad news. If Deputy Hall Master Zhang really didn't want to kill the two of them, then LV Hushan might not cooperate with him. Because even if he didn't cooperate, he would never be killed by Deputy Hall Master Zhang. Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing suddenly realized that the real dangerous person seemed to be himself. Because if he were LV Hushan, he would never cooperate. Deputy Hall Master Zhang's martial arts were so high. Even if the two of them cooperated, could it be possible to be his opponent? Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing couldn't help but shake his head. It was absolutely impossible. Deputy Hall Master Zhang had been hiding his martial art. Today, it seemed that even Hall Master Shui might not be his opponent, let alone LV Hushan and himself, who were seriously injured. In this case, of course, surrendering was the safest because only in this way would they not be killed. Thinking of this, the cold sweat on Yuan Weiqing's forehead gradually flowed down his cheek. This was because he suddenly realized that LV Hushan might not be sincere about cooperating with him after talking to him for so long. Perhaps he just wanted to clarify the doubts in his heart for so many years. In the end, no matter what he said, LV Hushan would kill him. Then he would listen to Deputy Hall Master Zhang's order and kill Hall Master Shui. Today's matter would be over. At that time, Deputy Hall Master Zhang would become the Hall Master of the Tanlei sect in the South County. What position would LV Hushan be in? Would he be the protector of the Tanlei sect in the South County or the Deputy Hall Master? LV Hushan was injured. Although his martial arts were not good, he was obedient. Deputy Hall Master Zhang liked obedient subordinates, so it seemed possible for him to be the Deputy Hall Master. Thinking of this, a chill suddenly rose in Yuan Weiqing's heart and spread to his whole body in an instant. He couldn't help but shiver. This was too terrible. After talking for so long, it turned out that the most dangerous person was himself. LV Hushan, who had been talking to him, was just making fun of him. LV Hushan saw that Yuan Weiqing lowered his head and didn't speak, but cold sweat gradually oozed from his forehead. In the end, it even flowed down. He knew that Yuan Weiqing was nervous, so he sneered and said, "Yuan Weiqing, I'm giving you a chance. Hurry up and tell me the reason why you want me to cooperate with you. Maybe I will really agree. Don't you think so?" Hearing these words, Yuan Weiqing sighed in his heart. At this moment, he completely understood that LV Hushan was teasing him. LV Hushan had completely taken the initiative. He could kill him, but he would be fine. If he could give a very strong reason without any risk, LV Hushan wouldn't mind cooperating with him, because no matter what he did, he would be the winner. No, he had to think of a way to change this situation. But what should he do? Yuan Weiqing thought about it until his head hurt, but he still couldn't think of any way, because this was almost an unsolvable problem. No matter what LV Hushan did, he was in an invincible position, but he had to survive in danger. What should he do? What should he do to make LV Hushan believe him and cooperate with him? This was his only chance. As long as LV Hushan agreed to cooperate with him, the two of them would work together to get rid of Vice Hall Master Zhang. At that time, there would be an absolute turnaround. Thinking of getting rid of Vice Hall Master Zhang, Yuan Weiqing's heart was pounding. If this matter could really succeed, the greatest benefit would undoubtedly be obtained by him. Because once this matter succeeded, he would definitely find a way to get rid of LV Hushan. No matter how many reasons he had, he would definitely not let him live. At that time, after getting rid of LV Hushan and Hall Master Shui, he would be the boss of the entire Tanlei sect in the South County. Thinking that he would become the #1 person in the Tanlei sect in the South County, Yuan Weiqing was extremely excited. LV Hushan, who was standing at the side, saw a smile on Yuan Weiqing's face, which was originally full of worry. He couldn't help but feel strange and asked tentatively, "Yuan Weiqing, why are you smiling so happily? Have you thought of a good idea?" Hearing LV Hushan's question, Yuan Weiqing was suddenly awakened. Only then did he remember that he was still in a difficult situation. He had to solve the current situation in order to enjoy the beautiful life in the future. But what should he say? How could he move LV Hushan and make him sincerely cooperate with him? What did LV Hushan need to be willing to cooperate with him? Chapter 844. Yuan Weiqing asked tentatively, "LV Hushan, as long as we work together to get rid of Deputy Hall Chief Zhang, you can become the #1 person in the Tanlei sect in South County. Isn't that good?" Hearing this, LV Hushan nodded. "This is indeed very good. I also hope to do it. But tell me, Deputy Hall Chief Zhang's martial arts are very strong. How can we get rid of him? Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he sneered and continued. Yuan Weiqing, don't tell me that the two of us are going to get rid of Deputy Hall Chief Zhang with martial arts? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, this is impossible. Even if the two of us are not injured, we are absolutely no match for Deputy Hall Chief Zhang. LV Hushan nodded. Yuan Weiqing, that's right. Since you understand, I won't say more. Think about it carefully. What's a reliable plan to get rid of Deputy Hall Chief Zhang? Yuan Weiqing frowned and lowered his voice. LV Hushan, why don't we follow the method just now? As long as we wake Hall Chief Shui up, I believe that with the martial arts of the three of us, we can definitely defeat Deputy Hall Chief Zhang. Don't you think so? Hearing this, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, even if we wake Hall Chief Shui up, do you think that he will definitely wake up and recover his martial arts? Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, don't you see that Hall Chief Shui is actually seriously injured? Even if he wakes up, how much martial arts will he have left? What if Hall Chief Shui's martial arts are similar to ours? Even if the three of us join forces, can we defeat Deputy Hall Chief Zhang? I don't think so. Maybe the three of us will be killed by Deputy Hall Chief Zhang together. Don't you think so? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, how is that possible? Hall Master Shui's martial arts are very strong. Even if he is seriously injured, he was not crippled by Vice Hall Master Zhang. He must have very strong martial arts left. At that time, as long as the three of us join forces, we can definitely defeat Vice Hall Master Zhang. LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, what if we wake Hall Master Shui up and find that he really doesn't have any martial arts left? What should we do then? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. How is that possible? Hall Master Shui's martial arts are strong. Even if he was injured, it's impossible for him to not have any martial arts left. LV Hushan, don't worry. With the martial arts of the three of us, we can definitely defeat Vice Hall Master Zhang. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, what I want is not a possibility, but a certainty. I won't believe you until there is a safe way. Do you understand? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly said, LV Hushan, this method is very safe. Hall Master Shui is only unconscious now. As long as we wake him up, there will be no problem. LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, then let me ask you. Why has Hall Master Shui been unconscious for so long? Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment. But then, without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question, he continued. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you. It's because his injuries are too severe that he can't wake up. If I'm not wrong, even if we want to wake Hall Master Shui up now, I'm afraid it won't be an easy task. Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, how is that possible? You and I saw it just now. Hall Master Shui was only hit once. Even if Vice Hall Master Zhang is ruthless, there's no way he can cripple Hall Master Shui with just one attack. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, since you said that Hall Master Shui is fine, then tell me. Why hasn't he woken up yet? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment. For a moment, he couldn't answer this question. Just now, Yuan Weiqing really didn't notice this matter. Now that he thought about it, a chill suddenly rose in his heart. Hall Master Shui's current situation seemed to be that he was hit very hard. Maybe he really was seriously injured, so there was no way for him to wake up quickly. If that was the case, then wouldn't his plan be in vain? Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing's forehead gradually oozed cold sweat. If this plan didn't work, Didn't that mean that LV Hushan would attack him? Understanding this point, Yuan Weiqing really regretted it. He shouldn't have attacked Yi Tianhua just now. Earlier, Yi Tianhua had also said that he had a way to perish together with Vice Hall Master Zhang. If he hadn't launched a sneak attack on Yi Tianhua, perhaps the two of them would have perished together. Wouldn't that have saved him a lot of trouble? Thinking of this, Yuan Weiqing's heart was filled with regret. It was all his fault. He only saw the present and didn't think about the future. Yuan Weiqing was very clear that Yi Tianhua still had the strength to fight, but after being attacked by him, he was probably completely finished. Even if he woke up now, it was absolutely impossible for him to be Vice Hall Master Zhang's opponent. Seeing Yuan Weiqing lowering his head, LV Hushan sighed and said slowly, "Yuan Weiqing, I think you don't need to waste any more effort. With our martial arts, it's absolutely impossible for us to be Vice Hall Master Zhang's opponent. Even if Hall Master Shui joins us, I'm afraid it's still not enough. So, Yuan Weiqing, just accept your fate. You didn't treat me well in the past and always wanted to plot against me. Now that you're in my hands, it can be considered as making up for your past mistakes." After saying this, LV Hushan slowly raised his hand. Yuan Weiqing was suddenly shocked and waved his hand repeatedly. "LV Hushan, how can we do this? If the two of us and Hall Master Shui can't do it, we can join Yi Tianhua. Then it's definitely not a problem. What do you think? LV Hushan, don't rush to attack. As long as Yi Tianhua wakes up, he can definitely deal with Vice Hall Master Zhang." Yi Tianhua? LV Hushan was stunned for a moment and then sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, if it was just now, there might be some possibility. However, you took the opportunity to sneak attack Yi Tianhua and seriously injured him. Even if he wakes up, do you think he still has any fighting strength?" Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. "LV Hushan, don't worry. When I sneak attacked just now, I didn't use my full strength. Yi Tianhua was only slightly injured and temporarily unconscious. If we wake him up, he can definitely deal with Vice Hall Master Zhang." Speaking of this, Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment. However, he didn't wait for LV Hushan to answer him and continued speaking. "LV Hushan, if we use Yi Tianhua to deal with Vice Hall Master Zhang, it's simply killing two birds with one stone. Have you forgotten that Yi Tianhua once said that he had a way to perish together with Vice Hall Master Zhang? As long as the two of them perish together, we can save a lot of trouble. Isn't this the best choice? Don't you think so?" Hearing this, LV Hushan frowned. "Yuan Weiqing, is what you said true? Did you really not injure Yi Tianhua just now?" Yuan Weiqing hurriedly nodded. "Yes, LV Hushan, I'm not lying to you. Just now, Yi Tianhua wanted to protect me. How could I injure him? Don't you think so?" Hearing this, LV Hushan suddenly sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, if someone else said this, I would more or less believe it. However, since you said this, why can't I believe it?" Yuan Weiqing was stunned and asked with some doubts, "LV Hushan, why don't you believe me? I didn't lie to you." LV Hushan sighed. "Yuan Weiqing, since I came to the secret Thunder sect in the South County, you have been scheming against me. Do you think I didn't know? In order to improve our relationship, I always invited you to drink when I was free, hoping to make our relationship more harmonious. However, we drank so much together, but it didn't work at all. It still couldn't stop you from harming me. Yuan Weiqing, how can I believe a person like you?" Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. "LV Hushan, I've already said that what you said was a misunderstanding. I didn't deliberately want to harm you." LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, do you still want to lie to me?" Yuan Weiqing shook his head. "LV Hushan, I'm not lying to you. You really misunderstood. How could I do that?" Hearing this, LV Hushan gritted his teeth. "Yuan Weiqing, since you don't admit it, I can only tell you unfortunate news." "What?" Yuan Weiqing was so scared that he took a step back. LV Hushan, don't do it. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you. Although your cousin's martial arts are good, after 3 glasses of wine, he was easily caught by me. Do you know about this? What? Yuan Weiqing was taken aback. LV Hushan, what are you talking about? Why did you catch my cousin? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, to be honest, when I wasn't the protector of the secret thunder sect in the South County, you could set me up at will. However, when I became the protector of the secret thunder sect in the South County, you still wanted to set me up. I couldn't bear it anymore, so I could only catch your cousin and ask him, what do you mean? At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, your cousin is on your side. I believe what he said. You can't deny it, right? Yuan Weiqing's face had become very ugly, and even his voice was trembling. LV Hushan, what do you mean? Let my cousin go. This has nothing to do with him. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, that's why I advise you to admit it quickly. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Do you understand? Yuan Weiqing was stunned and then shook his head. LV Hushan, I didn't do anything. Why should I admit it? LV Hushan frowned and said with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, you don't admit it, but your cousin admitted it. He said that all of this was your plan, and it had nothing to do with him. Yuan Weiqing suddenly turned his head and looked at LV Hushan. LV Hushan, what did my cousin say? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, he didn't want to say anything at first, but after I asked carefully, he finally agreed to say it. He told me that you really wanted to do something to me, and that the pill was an evidence of you harming me. Also, you've been harming me from the beginning. You've been carefully plotting against me. Your cousin admitted it, so why don't you admit it? After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, you misunderstood. This isn't true. How could I do this? LV Hushan shook his head and said with a sigh, Yuan Weiqing, I didn't want to believe it at first, but your cousin said so. I have no choice but to believe it. Don't you think so? Yuan Weiqing gritted his teeth. LV Hushan, what do you want? Hurry up and let go of my cousin. This matter has nothing to do with him. If you have any dissatisfaction, come to me. I'll take responsibility for him. LV Hushan suddenly sneered. Yuan Weiqing, don't make it sound so nice. This is what you've done. How could you take responsibility for others? Let me tell you, I know everything that you've done. The reason why I didn't mention it just now was that I wanted to see whether you, Yuan Weiqing, are a man who dares to take responsibility for what you've done. At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, but you disappoint me too much. Since you dare to do it, you don't dare to admit it. Now I see you clearly. You are definitely a coward that I look down on. Yuan Weiqing's face had turned livid. He raised his head and looked at LV Hushan. He gritted his teeth and said, LV Hushan, if I admit it, will you let my cousin go? LV Hushan sneered. Of course, what I want is an answer. Everything else is trivial. Yuan Weiqing gritted his teeth. When he was about to admit it, he suddenly saw a cold light flashing in LV Hushan's eyes. He was shocked and immediately swallowed back the words he wanted to say. LV Hushan, to tell you the truth, what you said is really a misunderstanding. How could I harm you? Please believe me, you are really thinking too much. LV Hushan thought that Yuan Weiqing was about to admit it, but he didn't expect that Yuan Weiqing still didn't admit it. He couldn't help but be a little annoyed. Yuan Weiqing, this is clearly what you did. Why don't you admit it? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, think about it. Since you came to the secret thunder sect in the South County, I have not done anything wrong to you. When you first came, I asked you to do the best logistics work. You didn't want to do it, and I promised you. This is your own choice. However, when you are in danger, you say that I harmed you. Then let me ask you, if others are in danger, will I harm them? LV Hushan, you have to think clearly. The reason why those missions are dangerous missions is that they are very dangerous. It is very likely that you will not be able to come back. It is precisely because of this reason that they are called dangerous missions. You insisted on not doing logistics work and insisted on doing dangerous missions. I can't help it. Chapter 845. Yuan Weiqing sighed. LV Hushan, everything is your own choice. You can't blame me. Even if you encounter danger, it's your own business. It has nothing to do with me. Do you understand? Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan sneered and shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, are you saying that the bees on the Green Mountain have nothing to do with you? Yuan Weiqing was stunned for a moment and then shook his head. LV Hushan, I have already said that it was just an accident. I didn't do it on purpose. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's answer, LV Hushan sighed and said slowly, Yuan Weiqing, in fact, I won't believe you even if you don't admit it. Because your cousin has already told me everything. Even if you don't admit it, it's useless. Do you understand? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, what does my cousin say have anything to do with me? Do you want me to be responsible for what he said? LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. Yuan Weiqing, although some of the words were said by your cousin, what he said was what you did. Do you still think it has nothing to do with you? Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, I didn't do anything. What does it have to do with me? LV Hushan gritted his teeth. Yuan Weiqing, let me tell you. Do you remember that once I went to the East County to do something? As a result, I was delayed for half a year before coming back. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing's eyes flashed with a trace of panic, but he quickly returned to normal. LV Hushan, what do you mean by that? Don't tell me that you've wasted so much time in Dongjun, and now you're willing to be with me? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, you should also remember what I said when I came back. On my way to the East County, I met a lot of bandits. These bandits were all good at martial arts. If it weren't for my good luck, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to come back in half a year. Speaking of this, LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and sneered. My trip to the East County was so dangerous, but because of the delay, you told Hall Leader Shui that I was delayed and wanted to punish me. Is that true? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, what are you talking about? No matter how long you are gone, what does it have to do with me? LV Hushan sighed and slowly said, Yuan Weiqing, in fact, even if you don't admit it, I know. Because your cousin has already told me that it was all your doing. At this point, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question and continued to speak. Yuan Weiqing, at that time, I hadn't been a protector for long. Then, I went to the East County to do a mission. As soon as I left the South County, I met a group of bandits in a forest. There weren't many of them, but they were all highly skilled in martial arts, especially the leader. His martial arts were above mine. To be honest, if it wasn't for my good luck, I really would have been killed by those people. Yuan Weiqing, do you still dare to say that you don't know? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, on the way to the East County, many people encountered bandit. Would they also come to me for revenge? LV Hushan, no matter who you met on that road, I tell you, it has nothing to do with me. LV Hushan shook his head. Yuan Weiqing, I used to think that it had nothing to do with you, because I never thought that someone would be so bold. It wasn't until I caught your cousin and he told me everything that I realized the truth of the matter. Yuan Weiqing, do you still want to quibble? Yuan Weiqing's face became livid. LV Hushan, what nonsense are you talking about? What did my cousin say? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, your cousin told me that the bandits who intercepted me on the road were actually you. Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing's face became even more ugly. He hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, how could you believe such words? In any case, I can't do anything to you. Why not? LV Hushan turned his head to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, Yuan Weiqing, I used to think that it was impossible, but when your cousin said this, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that it was possible. Yuan Weiqing, I advise you to admit it quickly. You did this. Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. LV Hushan, it really wasn't me. Believe me, we have no enmity. Why would I do anything to you? LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, why did you do this to me? It's all because of your cousin. You want your cousin to replace me as the protector of the Tanlei sect in the South County. Isn't this reason enough? Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, I've already said that I'm not the hall master of the Tanlei sect in the South County. Even if you're gone, I can't let my cousin be the protector, so what you said is impossible. LV Hushan, you'd better not think too much. This is all nonsense from my cousin. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. LV Hushan sighed. Yuan Weiqing, these bandits hate me very much. From the very beginning, they attacked me fiercely. The 3 brothers that I brought with me were all killed by those bandits in that battle. I was the only one who was seriously injured by them. I took the opportunity to escape. However, these bandits refused to let me go. They chased me all the way to the East County and refused to let me go. Yuan Weiqing, if they were just ordinary bandits, think about it. Would they chase me so hard? Not only did they intercept me halfway, but they also chased me all the way to the East County. I believe that no bandits would do this, so I'm sure that these bandits must be you. There's no one else. Yuan Weiqing shook his head. LV Hushan, this is just your guess. Maybe you have something valuable on you. That's why they've been chasing you. They won't stop until they get their hands on it. Hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I don't have anything valuable. To tell you the truth, I only brought 10 gold coins this time. Don't tell me that these bandits chased me so far just for these 10 gold coins? Yuan Weiqing shook his head and said with a bitter smile, LV Hushan, maybe they don't know that you only have 10 gold coins. They think that you have a lot of gold coins, so they keep chasing you? LV Hushan shook his head. That's impossible. When we first met, I saw that they were good at martial arts. I've already told them that I'm from the Tanlei sect in the South County and I don't have many gold coins. Yuan Weiqing, think about it. I've already told them. Why are they still chasing me? Don't you think it's suspicious? Hearing this, Yuan Weiqing clapped his hands gently and said with a smile, LV Hushan, I understand. They're chasing you because of what you said. What? LV Hushan frowned. Yuan Weiqing, I didn't say anything. I just told them that I'm from the Tanlei sect in the South County. I didn't say anything overboard. Why are they chasing me? Yuan Weiqing sighed and said slowly, LV Hushan, it's a mistake to tell them that you're from the Tanlei sect in the South County. LV Hushan, think about it. How many people want the Thunderbolt pills produced by the Tanlei sect in the South County? However, they can't get them. In the end, they heard that you're from the Tanlei sect in the South County. In addition, you're going a long way, so they're sure that you have Thunderbolt pills. It's precisely because you have these Thunderbolt pills that they've been chasing you to get them. LV Hushan, if you didn't say that you're from the Tanlei sect in the South County, they probably wouldn't chase you. Seeing how many gold coins you have, they probably let you go. Don't you think so? After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan was stunned for a moment and could not help but frown. If what Yuan Weiqing said was true, then this matter was really very possible. Yuan Weiqing was right. Many people wanted the thunderbolt pills produced by the Tanlei sect in the South County. However, the price was very high and ordinary people could not afford them. Therefore, they could only envy others who had the thunderbolt pills. These thieves heard that LV Hushan was from the Tanlei sect in the South County. In addition, he was going to the East County. It was not difficult for them to guess why LV Hushan was going to the East County. Of course, he was going so far to deliver the thunderbolt pills. How could these thieves let go of free thunderbolt pills in front of them? Therefore, they had been chasing LV Hushan all the way because they wanted to get the thunderbolt pills on him. Yuan Weiqing saw LV Hushan lowering his head and not saying anything. He sighed and said slowly, "LV Hushan, I won't lie to you because lying to you won't benefit me. In short, it's all your fault that you went to the East County this time. You told them your identity. If you didn't say it, there wouldn't be such trouble. Speaking of which, you brought this trouble on yourself, don't you think so?" Yuan Weiqing paused for a moment, but he didn't wait for LV Hushan to answer his question and continued to speak. "LV Hushan, I guess that you told them your identity because you wanted to use the Tanlei sect in the South County to suppress them. However, you didn't expect that not only did you not suppress them, but you also made them start to think about the thunderbolt pills on you. This is your mistake. Therefore, you must remember not to reveal your identity easily in the future. Otherwise, if people know that you are from the Tanlei sect in the South County, they will definitely suspect that you have the thunderbolt pills. At that time, you will be in trouble." After hearing Yuan Weiqing's words, LV Hushan frowned and suddenly sneered. "Yuan Weiqing, if I hadn't caught your cousin, I might have believed what you said to me. But I'm really sorry. Your cousin has already told me everything. You're the one who did it. You're the leader of those thieves. Yuan Weiqing, I advise you to admit it honestly. Only then can you be considered a real man." Hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing was stunned and asked with some doubts, "LV Hushan, what are you talking about? What does my cousin know? He is just talking nonsense. You can't take it seriously." LV Hushan shook his head. "Yuan Weiqing, how can I not take it seriously? Do you know how badly I was chased by you and how badly I was injured by you? If I hadn't jumped off the cliff because of you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to escape your pursuit. Don't you think so?" Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then he continued without waiting for Yuan Weiqing to answer him. "Yuan Weiqing, but I was really lucky. Although I was chased by you and jumped off the cliff, I didn't die. Although the cliff looked very high, there was a pool at the bottom of the cliff. After I jumped down, I fell into the pool and didn't die." Speaking of this, LV Hushan turned to look at Yuan Weiqing and asked with a sneer, "Yuan Weiqing, after hearing this news, are you very disappointed?" Yuan Weiqing hurriedly waved his hand. "LV Hushan, how can I be disappointed? Isn't it good that you are safe and sound? Why should I be disappointed?" LV Hushan shook his head. "Yuan Weiqing, I came back safe and sound. This means that your plan has failed. How can you not be disappointed?" Speaking of this, LV Hushan paused for a moment, but then he didn't wait for Yuan Weiqing to answer his question. He sneered and continued. "Yuan Weiqing, it doesn't matter. If you feel disappointed, just say it. Anyway, it's no big deal. It's all in the past. Even if I know that you did this, I won't retaliate against you. Yuan Weiqing, don't you know that I am a very magnanimous person? There are some things that I won't take to heart, so just say it. It's okay. I will never retaliate against you." After hearing LV Hushan's words, Yuan Weiqing sneered in his heart. He knew very well that although LV Hushan said it nicely, he would never retaliate against him. However, if LV Hushan knew that he was the one who did this, then Yuan Weiqing was absolutely sure that LV Hushan in front of him would turn hostile immediately. At the same time, Yuan Weiqing secretly sighed in his heart. When he saw LV Hushan fall off the cliff, He thought that he was dead. He didn't expect that this guy would come back. Man proposes but God disposes. This guy jumped down from such a high cliff and was actually fine. His luck was simply heaven-defying. Seeing that Yuan Weiqing didn't answer his question, LV Hushan sighed and said slowly, Yuan Weiqing, just admit it. I have already said that even if you admit it, I will never retaliate against you. You see, I'm much more straightforward than you. I really do hate you, so I made you eat the wild bear's excrement. However, I don't want to kill you, I just want to weaken your martial arts so that you won't be able to deal with me again. So, Yuan Weiqing, you don't have to worry. I'm not a petty person. I won't take revenge on you just because you've dealt with me. I'm definitely not that kind of person. I just want to know the truth. Let me know if my guess back then was right. Yuan Weiqing, can't we be frank and honest? You can solve the doubts in my heart. It can be considered that we are friends. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.